listening to the Northern Hunter Podcast, home of all things hunting, fishing, and outdoors in Alaska.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is James Payne.
I'm Dalton Gray.
I'm Ryan Humphries.
And today we have the great pleasure of sitting down with two amazing hunters. We've got Jeff Humphries here with us and Randy Wilson. So thank you two very much for joining us. Now, Jeff, you are Mo's dad. So
Yes.
There's been some stories told about you on this podcast before. So people are going to kind of recognize a few of those as they get told maybe. But from my understanding, you are the guy that kind of got these two into the woods, got them going. So
When it comes to bear baiting, I've introduced them to that, yes.
perfect. Yeah. And I believe Mo was 7 years old when you brought him out there, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
First time I took him out there, he had his little folding chair and coloring book. And
There you go.
the first bear he ever saw was a grizzly bear. And
Yeah.
he was hoping I could shoot that thing, but I
Yeah.
said, I wish I could.
Yeah.
Right. There's special rules around shooting the grizzly certain parts of the year. But, well, again, thank you both for being here and cutting time out of your evening. So, Jeff, why don't we start with you? So, tell us a little bit about what kind of hunting you've done in the past, early life stuff, and then how you got to Alaska. What kind of got you up here?
Well, I grew up in Ohio, and outdoors is where the world came together for me.
Mm-hmm.
Struggled in the classroom, but fish and pull, that's where I would shine. Or
There you
I
go.
went hunting. That's life came together for me outdoors.
Mm-hmm. That's
And-
why a lot of us do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, growing up, I heard all these stories about Alaska. My dad met my mom. Dad was a doctor, and mom was a nurse, and they met each other in Washington State. My mom was from Alaska,
Okay.
and so I heard all these stories growing up. And well, as the years went by, and high school and graduation, I was just tired of waiting until the fall to go hunting.
Mm. Yeah, right.
I mean, I love bow fishing. I used to slaughter fish just because I could go shoot them with a bow and hunt them
Right.
instead of casting for them. But so I just set a goal that I'm going to Alaska, and spring of '92, I had sold everything and loaded up, and
Yep.
buddy of mine jumped in with me, and we drove all the way up to Fairbanks.
Nice. Came up here with a truck full of stuff and a wad of cash and a lot of dreams, huh?
About broke.
About broke. Small wad of cash. There we go.
One could even say on a string and a prayer.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, right on. What about you, Randy? Where are you from?
Mostly California.
California?
Oh, man.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you do any hunting down there prior to coming up here?
Very little. I went, I got a bow when I was in high school,
There you
and I hunted Catalina Island for the
Mhm.
Spanish goats and pigs, and Santa Cruz for pigs and
go. Okay.
sheep. But
Gotcha.
that was pretty much it. When I come up here, I had like 2 animals to my name.
Yeah. Yeah. And what sparked you coming up to Alaska?
I come up in the Air Force.
Okay.
I wanted to come
Gotcha.
to Alaska to go hunting.
Yep.
Didn't know anything, but I knew I wanted to come to Alaska and go hunting.
There you
And
go.
they finally let me come up here. So they shipped me up, and I was at Eielson for 7 years.
Right on. And you just get out and decide to stay?
Yeah, they were going to move me, and I said, nah, I don't think so.
There you go. There you go. I found my spot.
Pretty much.
Well, perfect. Yeah, that's same way I got up here, just with the Army. So same
nice.
exact way. So it's a great way to get to see new places if you're stuck somewhere you don't want to be, but
Mhm.
you don't always get to choose, where you go. I didn't actually choose Alaska when I came up here.
Oh, really?
I was actually in my training group. I was one of 2 people that didn't go to Korea. There were 30 of us in my group, and one guy went to Hawaii, and then I got sent up here to Alaska, and everybody else went to Korea. So
Not a whole
it
lot
was,
of hunting in Korea.
by the grace of God, I ended up in Alaska, and I thank him every day for it. So, but all right, so let's go right about after you moved up here, Jeff. How long did it take you to get into the hunting game up here?
Well, you had to get your IBLP, International Bow Hunters Education Program.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said that wrong, but anyway.
They know what you mean.
Had to get qualified to hunt in some areas up here, which
Mhm.
I wasn't familiar with. And so remember jumping through those hoops and
Yeah.
figuring all that out. But, I had never bear baited, never bear hunted, was just wanting to get out there and experience this, scared half to death with, wondering what I'm going to be facing out there. And
Right.
just remember walking into the woods, and a squirrel chattering at you and jumping out of your boots, thinking they're hiding behind trees waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't that way.
No.
But met up with another guy. He had never done it either.
Mm.
His name was Ron. And he said, I think I know a spot. And so next spring, we got together, and soon I became a resident, which was 1 year.
Yep.
We went after it and just started figuring it out.
Nice. So was bear baiting like your first kind of dive into hunting in Alaska?
That was the first thing I dived in and did.
Really?
Was bear baiting.
That's awesome.
And
you're like, I'm in Alaska, I'm doing it.
And I did it with something I had never ever had. I had a little bit of experience with, but was horses.
Oh,
Ron
okay.
had some horses.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And now his horses weren't the ones you're supposed to ride. They were like for pulling sleds and loads.
Yep.
Great big horses. And I don't know what they're called.
Were they like the ones with the real long hair on their hooves and like Clydesdales or something like that? Or
Yeah, they were big animals.
big.
But
yeah.
he would ride them because
Yeah.
they were horses.
'Cause why not?
And I didn't know. I found out later how stupid this was, but we decided we went off on these horses to go find a spot, and we went out there and found a spot. And then we made plans to come back a few days later and go put the bait out. And so we had a barrel, and we had bait, and we had grease, and we had some boards for a stand. And how are we going to get all this up there? Because we didn't have wheelers. We didn't have, back then, 3-wheelers were what was readily available. The
Right.
transition was happening. Everybody was buying 4-wheelers who had money, and all those poor boys were buying the old 3-wheelers. And he said, we're going to put it on the horse. And so we tied a 55-gallon barrel on the back of this horse. And we put boards in the barrel, and we put a jug of grease. We hung that over the top with 2 ropes and dog food. And we started down the road with this thing. Of course, the boards are going whack, whack,
Yep.
whack, whack. And I can remember as we walked off and looking back at the house where his wife was, and she was standing on the front porch just shaking her head. I didn't know no better. We didn't make it, but a few hundred yards for that horse went psycho.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I didn't know what to do with that even happened. I just remember Ron going, get out of here. This thing's going to kill you. And he wrapped it around a tree and took off running himself. And it went into a bucking raging fit for some reason. I don't know.
Yep.
Till everything was off of it. And I think we scrounged up enough money to buy some little wore out Honda 90 or something that we could put stuff on and limp up the hill.
Yep.
One person could ride it. And
Yeah. The other could push.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Did you guys
Or,
have any action on that first bear bait?
Oh, yeah. First one we got out, it wasn't but a week or two, and we had a bear hitting it. And I bought a little bear. You thought it was a bear. They had these little electronic device here. It was really high tech. It had a little nylon zip tie that came out the side of it, and you poked it in up top here, and you tied a string to that and tied it to a tree. And if something tripped the string, it would stop the time, and you'd have an idea what time it'd come in.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what we had back then.
Yeah.
This was 92, 93. And so, anything could trip it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A bird could trip it, a fox could trip it, squirrel could get tangled up in the thing. But it could be a bear, but we'd stick barrels or stick logs in the barrel and
Yep.
something big enough that a bear would have to be, something big would have to move it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But we came in and logs were all thrown out and a lot of bait was eaten and
There you go.
we were excited and about half scared to death. And Ron was the guy that went from, 0 to 100 miles an hour in excitement in a split second. I mean, bear shows up and can we watch it for a second before you shoot it?
Yeah.
That's the type of guy he was. There's a bear. Bam. Dude, I didn't even see it. Where did it?
Right.
Well, it's laying right there. Go look at it.
Yeah.
You can see him now.
Well, if he was that good of a shot, that'd have been great.
Oh, boy.
Jerry Cloud and give him a sporting chance, so that was Ron.
Yeah. That's funny.
He likes to shoot it, and then he'd chase it through the woods.
Just
And,
wound him to death.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. That's how Ron hunted.
A lot of sour meat coming from that.
Yeah.
Our first time hunting, when the bear showed up and we made plans to come back and hunt, which was a day or so later, we had 2 stands that are just little plywood spot in a tree that we made.
Yep.
He was in one and I was in another, and just big enough for one person to sit in.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing finally shows up and he blasts away out of it, shoots at least twice, and it drags itself off heading down the hill, paralyzed, and empties his gun. Or I think he was shooting with, I guess he was shooting with a rifle. We both had rifles at that point.
Okay.
I was too scared to have a bow at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, we gave it a few minutes and then we got down, and it wasn't too much further down the way there that it was taking its last breath, but Ron didn't even let it do that before he shot it. It wasn't getting away. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, when you're a new bear hunter, better safe than sorry, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that about the squirrels too, because one of the funniest events that have happened to me while bear baiting was it was my first time baiting alone. So I was walking in and out all by myself that year, and the first time you walk in and the place just looks like a bomb went off. Everything's ripped up, thrown around. Food's half gone. They're there. And I didn't see one that trip. I was just restocking, and on my way out, walking through this real thick area, and these 2 grouse just exploded out from underneath the tree, and I about had to change my shorts. I tell you what.
Yeah.
I swung around so fast. It was like you said, I just thought it was sitting there waiting for me.
Grouse will do that to you.
Yeah.
I've had them do that to me in Ohio,
Yep.
Especially those big ruffed grouse. They have that real deep wing beat. It's even to somebody who knows what they are. If it catches you off guard and it's 2:30 in the morning and it's half dark,
10 feet away from you,
and you're carrying a bow, that'll wake you up for the drive home. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did you get one that year?
No, Ron shot one. And bait, we had a little bit of action on it, but nothing consistent after that. And, we were just as rookie as could be about this thing.
Yep.
Made lots of mistakes. Stunk to high heaven. Now, I came from Ohio whitetails and that whitetail mentality that, don't breathe, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Got to take 3 showers before you go hunting and clean everything and all your scent. And I wasn't that way with bear baiting. I mean, it's hard not to be smelling like the bait.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you got to handle it so much. And we were having to carry it all. And of course, that's just how that was. But it was the following year before I took a bear.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. What about you, Randy? What was your first dive into hunting when you got up here?
My first year I got here in May.
Mm-hmm.
So I got military tags, which were like half price non-resident tags.
Gotcha.
I shot a caribou and a moose, both small.
Okay. Yeah.
Out on the river.
Gotcha.
But then the following spring is when I went on my first bear hunt.
Okay. Gotcha.
Did you start right out archery hunting or gun hunting?
The first year I rifle hunted. And then the next year I rifle hunted and bowed.
Okay.
I've only shot 2 bears with a rifle. I've shot them all the bears with a bow.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. Gotcha. So pretty much just jumped right in as soon as you got here.
Oh yeah. That's the whole point of being here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So the reason you two are here together is because you guys have done quite a bit of hunting together. So, what would you, if you look back, what was your first hunt that you two went on together?
93 or 4.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. They got tags or drawings you can put in for.
Mm-hmm.
And the management area gave out moose tags. And for cow moose, it was their first time they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to draw one of them. And I met Randy. We met each other, I believe, at church.
Mm-hmm.
And we made pretty quick friends. And I told him about that I got this moose tag, drew this. Of course, it's in the paper, so everybody knows and starts calling everybody. And
they announced the winners in the
plans.
paper?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I think he may even say, I saw you in the paper, you got a moose tag.
Yeah.
A cow moose tag. And he says, I know a place we can get cow moose. I said, okay, cool.
There you go.
And so when moose time came, we went to that spot and along the Chena River area, lots of willows and moose country and swamp and thicket. And just started wading through the bushes and working our way and following moose trails and paths. And he had been through there in years prior.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd taken some moose back there, or had
some close with my buddy.
Yeah. And so.
Yeah.
And if I remember, it was the first time he took me in there, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First evening, we get back in there. And
really?
You could hear the moose crashing and walking.
It's a nice spot.
Yeah. I was going to say, sounds like it.
Stomping. And, we had some real good moose numbers back then.
True.
I mean, they were everywhere.
Yeah. Very true.
So that made a big difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
We could hear it moving, and we just started working that way. And we just got set up, and it was getting pretty close to dark, if I recall, and working through the willows right towards us. I don't know if it was 30 yards.
Yeah, 30, 35.
So right there. Just one of those perfect opportunities where, only thing it stepped through a little clearing, and the only thing I could see was its vitals and pause for a moment. And I connected.
There you go.
Let the arrow go, and it hit good. That nice whack.
Yeah.
You just know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And heart's pounding, adrenaline, and all that type of thing. And I'm going, where did I hit it? Did I get it? And oh, yeah, you got it good.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned and ran back from where it came, and everything got quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't hear anything, if I remember. Seemed like it got real quiet. And then it got dark.
Yeah. Took a minute to find it, but it didn't go far.
Yeah.
It was pretty thick,
Yeah. That's the danger of evening moose hunting, and especially if you're, mid to late season or anything, is it's
pretty incredible.
It gets
how
dark pretty quick.
Dang near 1,000-pound animal can just disappear when it falls down.
Oh yeah.
And even a big gut on a moose, as soon as they fall down, their ribs don't have any volume to them, but that gut will stick up. But it's hard to tell what the moose is because it's colored just like everything else out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find even with a good flashlight.
Well, especially if you're in 4-foot willows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and grass.
Yeah. And it was a cow hunt, so there's no paddle to stick
it ain't
up.
like there's a big white rack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and from the way the conversation went in the green time before we hit the big red button, Sounded like you guys cleaned house that year. What you were saying, right?
Yeah, it was my first moose season, and we came back in and started packing that one out, and then I think we finished it in the morning. And everybody was out hunting, and like I said, the moose numbers were everywhere, and we started getting calls from buddies. Hey, we need help. Hey, we need help. And I think by the end of that first week, we'd helped pack out 5 different moose, and to a friend's business who had the butcher shop set up.
Yep.
That everybody would just meet there, families would meet there, and we'd cut them all up and have a great time and go home, clean up, and go to work and do it again the next night.
Yeah. More hands make less work, especially when it comes to cutting up moose.
Yeah. That's a full week's worth of work packing out 5 moose.
Oh yeah,
in a week.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, that is not.
Wow.
That is not an easy task. How old were you at that point?
I was 25 when I got to Alaska, man. Made out of steel.
There you go. Yeah, you bounced a lot.
Pain goes away, chicks dig scars, and glory lasts forever.
Yeah. Well,
isn't that what they say?
Now I'm soft pine, so hey.
Somehow I doubt that. Well, let's take a break real quick. Hammer Bullets produces what we at the Northern Hunter consider to be the most premium and best working monolithic bullets on the market today. These bullets are easy to load, extremely accurate, and best of all, they're always in stock and ready to ship. The guys at Hammer designed them so that after penetrating the hide of an animal, it sheds its petals, initiating a massive energy dump while retaining the rear shank for maximum penetration. These bullets are built with 100% focus on how they perform on game, and their proprietary designs produce great BCs with specialized pressure grooves for amazing inherent accuracy and speed. They have a minimum expansion velocity of 1,800 feet per second, which allows for long-range shots, but with no maximum velocity, making them perfect for every cartridge from your granddaddy's old 30-30 to the high-velocity round like the Weatherby 3378 without having to worry about your bullet failing. To view their expansive selection and find the perfect match for your hunting needs, go to hammerbullets.com and use discount code TheNorthernHunter to drop the hammer on your next adventure. All right, Randy. So we didn't get into how your first dive into bear baiting went. So you brought up that following spring you got into it as soon as you were a resident.
Yep.
How'd that go?
Well, I got a bear.
There you go.
It was more luck than I had a guy show me how to bear bait.
Mm-hmm.
And third bear I ever saw in my life walked into the bear bait and promptly looked at me and left.
Oh.
So the next night he came back in and he walked in and walked right over the tree I was sitting in, and I was fine. All my giant years of hunting.
Yeah, right.
This bear, I'd never seen one, anywhere near that close. The other one, 2 I saw were 300 yards away.
Right.
And he walked over the tree and I was good. And he went over to the bait and then he come back to the tree and he stood up and life was good. I'm sitting there with my bow.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started climbing the tree with me. Yeah, I come unglued. I stood up and he went back down. He'd give me this stupid look and like, what are you doing? And he started to walk off and I pulled my bow back and my arrow fell off, hit the ground. I grab another arrow, stick on there, and the bear's looking at me and he's still walking. And I pull and it falls off and I catch it with my finger twice.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
So he, and now he's like 20 yards away or something. He sits down and looks at me, and then I got the bow pulled back, and he was turned kind of quartering away, and he stood up, and I shot him, and he ran over there and died. But yeah, it would have been a good thing to have on video.
Yeah, right.
It was pretty humorous. Now,
right.
Oh yeah.
But after the success, then it's humorous, right?
Right. Yeah, it was.
This is a long time before those fully enclosed arrow rests that we have nowadays.
Yes.
This is back on the old just slim silicone or nylon shelf that would sit up there.
Yes, he's talking about the little trail cameras. No such thing. I used a clock that I wired to a tree.
Yeah.
And a string that was tied to the battery, and I tied that to a log. And when they moved the log, they'd pull the battery out. So at least you know what time they're coming in.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Before rangefinders and all that stuff.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, it was
That's great.
That's awesome.
old school.
Yeah. I'll say, yeah, that was probably the early 90s. That was probably the day of the Focus rangefinder.
Oh yeah,
Isn't that the way
yeah.
the prism
Oh, yeah.
ones.
Yeah, the little
Those
prism
were-
rangefinders.
boy, Those were high tech.
Had the
man.
wheel, you had to
Yeah.
line up.
Yeah.
Every
Put
time
the two
temperature
images together.
changed.
Yep.
Yeah. That's funny.
Man, oh man.
Huh.
Well, so kind of along those lines of how things have changed. I mean, what were you guys like primarily using back then before the day and age of all these? You know, like we use a lot of Beta 907 stuff. There's a couple other companies that make bear attractants. There's stuff available everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was there like bear attractants available at the stores back then, or were you pretty much just whatever stinky, smelly
Going down the clearance aisle.
Yeah, yep.
There may have been something somewhere, but found it at the grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
or I just made nasty stink buckets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mix my own stuff. I put milk in there and eggs and
Ooh.
old meat and stuff, and then you let it cook in the sun.
Yeah.
Then you poke holes and let it drizzle down. And
Milk and eggs, man.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Then with the meat in there, you know, and
Yeah.
you could get fish oil back
It's
then.
a bear omelet. Yeah.
You
There you go.
Squirt the fish oil in there.
Yeah.
It worked. Anything to smell.
I still
Mhm.
remember one year we were headed out to the first bait I went to you with, and I think I'd been out there a few times with you, a few years in a row, and you had a bunch of stink buckets. And this was the first year we had a really, really hard time getting in there. The trail had fallen out really bad, and we got part way in there, and you said this is too much work. We're not going to bait this one this year. It was somewhere around. Trails got bad, and they started shutting trails down and stuff. Anyhow, and you had a collection of stink buckets from maybe multiple years. And so you decide, like, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of all this stuff. Let's just dump it. And you walk off the trail and start dumping it. And every time you dump one, I would see you like bend over, like trying to hold it in. I'm sitting on the wheeler and I'm trying to hold it in because you're over there making the noise. And, you know, I was 12 and
The
Yeah.
sympathy hurl.
Gasping for air.
Yeah.
As long as it's in the bucket and it's not disturbed
Yeah,
too
yeah.
bad. But
Yeah. Yeah.
by the time you get to the bait, it's all shook up.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was moving my stink buckets around the other day. So I just kind of on that note of making your own. Last season, I built up 4 buckets and I only used 2 of them. And I was so proud of myself when July came and I looked at my wife and I said, those are staying right there till next season.
Oh, man.
So they've been sitting in blue Lowe's buckets that soak
Nice.
up all that sun and all that heat. And I moved them the other day because I was bringing home some beaver carcasses that I've been collecting.
Oh, good.
And I went to move one of my buckets. And it's got a lid on there and it's got electrical tape around the seal. And as soon as I moved it, it burped a little bit through that lid and the seal had broken. And I got a snoot full of that stink bucket and it about made me yak.
Yeah.
I was so happy. I came inside and I was talking to my wife and I said, you're not going to believe this, but these things smell worse than they ever have before. I'm going to be shooing the bears away from me when I'm setting up this year.
Oh.
Yeah, you know they're ready when they start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Just the tension on the lid of the gas.
Yeah, it's all
just
bowed up.
expanding.
yeah, it's all bowed up and just ready to blow. It's
Yeah.
like-
Yeah. I'm going to
Yeah.
have to relieve the pressure before I stick it in the truck bed.
Yeah,
Yes.
I made that mistake one time putting it on my wheeler without burping it, and it decided to burp itself as we're rolling down the trail. So it all just
Yuck.
You want to double bag them, hefty garbage bag,
Yep.
2 bags.
Yep.
Burp it ahead of time, wrap the lid with duct tape.
Yep.
Real good. Yeah.
And then put it in 2 garbage bags.
Yeah. At least. Yeah. No, it's I crop dusted myself on that trip. So now, as you two have alluded to in both your stories, you know, you guys are fans of archery hunting. Now with Jeff, I'm assuming you probably did a fair bit of archery hunting back in Ohio.
Yep.
Prior to coming up here. That's pretty common down there from what I understand. But Randy, you said you hadn't done much hunting before you got up here.
Not
And
a-
your first bear bait, you went in with a bow.
yes.
What kind of pushed you in that direction to go after quote unquote dangerous animal. You know, I don't know if they're qualified as dangerous game on the official list, but they are definitely a dangerous animal. You know, with a bow. Like what?
I don't know. I've always liked the bow hunt.
There you go.
I've always liked the bow. You know, I got one when I was in high school. I had a first cousin that hunted, but none of my immediate family. You know, like raised by a single mom, so
Gotcha.
I just like to hunt.
Well, you said you had like 2 animals to your name when you came up here. Were those both with a bow as well, or?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I went to the bow rack down in California, and he got me set up with the bow, and then they went on these hunts to Catalina Island. They take like 20 guys, and you take a big boat over to the island, and you spend the weekend hunting these Spanish goats that had been out there forever.
Yeah.
You know, 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a good time.
Yeah.
They drop you off all over, you know, so you're not hunting all on a big wad.
Mm-hmm.
Then they pick you up at night, unless you miss a truck.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so that's what got me started bow hunting.
Okay,
you know, I
gotcha.
got a Spanish goat, and the first trip was on Santa Cruz Island, and I shot a pig the first day.
Very nice.
Missed the truck. Stumbled back into camp at like 12:30 at night or something. You know, seemed to be my story of my life most of the time. You know, getting in late.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've always liked the archery, and if given a choice, I'll always take a bow.
There you go.
I'm not opposed to gun hunting.
Yeah.
Yep.
I gun hunt.
Oh, there's a special thing about a bow.
Mostly I bow hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember if there was one particular, individual or, something that you saw or read about when you were in high school that got you interested in bow hunting for the first time? Because that was kind of the golden era of archery kind of really becoming back in the mainstream. You know, Fred Bear had been around for a while. Compounds were starting to come on the scene. And so bow hunting was kind of booming at that point.
There was a teacher
that
had a bow and he'd talk about shooting and stuff, and shooting batteries off fence posts and stuff, and that intrigued me. And then I went to the bow shop,
They were shooting batteries in California?
Yeah, this back in the
wow.
Gosh, that would be the 70s, late 70s.
Yeah. Wow.
That was a different world than now.
Yeah.
Oh, it was different.
Couldn't do that in California today.
No.
Yeah. But
Those
then I went to the
belong in
bow
the
rack,
cars.
and he got me into hunting.
Okay.
He was a big hunter.
Is that the same bow rack shop that's still there that
Probably.
everybody talks about still?
Probably, I think the guy's name was Norm Malone, maybe.
Okay.
I got Christmas cards for years after I was up here from him.
Wow.
Mm.
And I went back the first, 5 years and went in and seen him. But
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I know, but just before we started recording, you and I were talking about how my granddad came from the same part of California back in his day. And he got his start, bow hunting out there on those same Catalina Islands for those Spanish goats. And he had shoulder mounts of those goats that I can remember all my childhood seeing those and always wondering, as a little kid before I, really figured out what was going on there. I always remember thinking, man, where do goats live in Alaska? But goats like that,
Right.
I could never make the connection. Like I didn't know we had, those kind of goats up here, and I never saw them. But obviously years later it clicked. Those were not from these parts.
Right. Yeah. The Spaniards come by in the 1800s and drop goats and pigs off on all those islands so they'd have something to eat when they came back.
Right.
Didn't they exterminate that entire population of them to make all into like luxury golf courses and resorts?
Non-indigenous species. They went in with helicopters and closed all the goats.
Mm-hmm.
Now they didn't do that with the buffalo that were left out there, but
right.
Yeah.
They shot a John Wayne movie and left a bunch of buffalo because it cost too much to ship them back, so they just turned them loose.
Which John Wayne rules over all. That's just how that goes.
God bless the Duke.
Yeah. God bless John Wayne.
But they did go in and I don't know if they got them all, but it was such an awesome deal. I mean, it was $250.
Oh wow!
And you get a boat ride. It's like 25 miles off the coast of California.
Can you imagine getting a boat ride for that price in Alaska these days to go do something like that?
Now, you got to think back in the 70s and 80s, that was a lot more money than it is now.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's
still
still
right
not
out
bad.
there.
Still.
They had everything set up. You just had to bring your food and your bow. You could kill a pig and 2 goats.
Yeah.
And, it's a 3-day hunt.
I've always wanted to go down and do a hunt like that with a bow just because it's so many targets of opportunity. It's not like your moose hunting where if you miss your shot at a moose, that might be the only one you get all season.
Yeah.
But with goats and pigs, I mean, it's all right. Well, I missed that one. I've got 10 more arrows and 100 more animals I'm looking at.
I'm a big fan of game ranches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only been to 2 or 3, but you can get 10 years of experience on a game ranch.
Yeah.
Spot and stalk experience, bow hunting.
Right.
And it's fun. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's not hunting a mountain goat, in Alaska.
Sure.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing I loved so much about Africa when we were over there. It was just the game was so plentiful. You never went 20 minutes without seeing an animal. It might not be one you want to chase, but
right.
You're getting 3 to 4 spot and stalk opportunities every day.
Nice.
And it was just just amazing to see that because
it
ain't like that in Alaska. At least caribou sometimes, but you'll shoot at one. If you don't hit it, they'll run up the hill, turn around, run back, come right back in front of you 50 yards, and there's your round 2.
But there's a lot of days that you don't see any caribou.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of weeks you don't see any.
But to your point, I mean, that was really an amazing experience for me because I've never gone on 4 stalks a day.
Right.
As much as many years as I have been doing it, it's like I've never had that many opportunities in one day. So if you have a chance at a game ranch or something like that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you guys end up starting to bear bait together?
Oh, boy, that was a long time ago. Probably we were going up, I don't know if we were bear baiting together or not before we were going up caribou hunting and running into bears. We were spotting, stalking grizzly bears together before we started baiting together.
Yeah. Okay.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that's way fun.
Yeah.
That's way fun. You hunt at night.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the wind is real, it just fluffs around, which would almost always bust you.
Gotcha.
If you get good breeze, bears aren't real hard to stalk on if you got a little cover.
Yeah.
Assuming they're not just moving.
Were you guys bow hunting?
Oh, yeah.
Spot and stalk?
yeah.
Really? With the grizzlies?
Yeah, it worked real good. We
Nice.
just switch off the stocks. One guy carry a rifle and the other guy carry his bow.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Killed a few
did.
bears.
There you go.
Tell us about that bear, Jeff, that I was alluding to when I was talking to the folks at one of the bear bait presentations. Remember that one?
Well, the grizzly that I took with Randy up there when we were spotting and stalking, we had spotted it on this little bench, and we went downwind and headed up to intercept it. And as he said, one guy has the gun, one guy has the bow because we're playing with grizzly bears.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, respect that animal because I can go from a nice fuzzy bear to a crazy bear real quick. But anyway, we go right up this creek, and we've been running around Alaska for about a week at that time doing this on this particular hunt. So, and we pop up in this little area, and this bear was up there digging and rooting, and this is early springtime, and it's not there. So, man, it was right here, And we just stood still and looked around, and just don't move too quick. Sometimes they ain't far away, and we backed out of there, and Randy just said, "Let's go up." It had to go up. Let's go up. So we work our way on up and find a little clearing area where we can see down to where we had seen the bear. And we just stopped and let's just stay put. Stop moving. It's got to be here somewhere. And, the bear was down close to where we had just been. It was just over a rise. And, it's like any time you look for game, you're looking over top of half of it because it's down in a hole or behind a rock or in a shadow. And it was just over this rise, and it back over the rise and was down there digging around. And I don't know how far we were from it, 50 yards. But it came walking up, and it crossed the path where we had just been standing.
Yep.
Well, it blows, and here it comes running straight up the hill. And
thinking that he's running away from what he just smelled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's running right straight, just about at us.
Yeah.
It goes into the brush a little bit to our right. And Randy and I have been doing this for several years at this point. And he had taken a grizzly prior to this, in our pursuit of grizzly bears, a year or so previous.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a lot of practice together, and I just was already dropped on my knees, pulled my bow back, and waiting for this bear to come out of this opening that we had just come out of. And it came blasting out of that opening. And my thought was, okay, second I see it, I'm letting go of my arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did that, and I hit it right through the mids. Liver shot, gut shot. Thing spun around, did a break dance right there, and about 5 yards in front of us.
Yep. Almost shot it with the gun, right?
Yeah. And, obviously got a big snoot of human odor and everything, and then blasted off through the bushes from there. Everything went quiet, and the adrenaline, my heart's shaking, my hands are shaking, my knees are knocking.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, man, I'm alive. And we just gave it time.
Yeah.
We gave it time, and I had never gut shot a grizzly bear, liver shot any bear. And after whatever seemed like an eternity, we started going in its direction, and pretty quick we started finding some blood, and then found where it stopped, and lots of blood on the leaves. And it's like, well, that's liver. And real slow, painfully, one guy stayed with the blood sign, and I would track, and he's watching with the gun, and then he'd mark the spot, and then I'd move on up and find more sign, and we did that for how long?
All the way to the top of the tree line.
Oh boy.
Well, we were way up, already, so probably a couple 300 yards.
Yeah.
We got up to the willows, or always where the trees end, you got willows. And this particular spot, the willows weren't didn't go on for miles. They were 100 yards thick or so. And there was a big spot of blood where the bear had laid, I don't know if it laid there or stood there and just turned around in circles, or I'm looking at that and trying to interpret the sign and what's going on. And all of a sudden, Randy goes, Jeff.
After I spent 2 minutes trying to flag him down with my arm behind my back, because the bear's sitting up there looking at us.
Oh, okay.
He gets my attention. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there. And you look up in the willows, and I can just see the head and the doghouse of this bear just laying up there looking at us. But I mean, it's sick as a bear, because the shot, the septic of the poison from the guts and
and the liver and
livers,
all that.
just making the thing very sick. And we're both standing there, and 15 yards was it or so, and it stands up, turns around, lays down, sticks its arm up in the air, stretching its legs out this way, that way. I mean, it was sick, hurting bear.
Yeah.
Well, then it does that, and we're just both, well, that's a sick bear. That's a hurting bear. And it moves away from us to the far side of this patch. Well, we go down and circle around where we can come down on it. And when we got up around above it, we're up on a shell slide, looking down at it. It's laying on the outside of the willows there, as sick as can be. And Randy got a spot where he could cover me with the gun, and I just worked my way down on the shell, and shell's just loose pieces of slate about the size of a quarter that this will slide and you can slip on. And I sat on my butt a couple times working my way over there, but got to a spot where I could take a shot. And this time I put it in the boiler room, and it jumped up, bit the end of the arrow off, collapsed.
Yeah.
And I ran back up to where Randy was. That one looked good. Let's give it some time.
Yep. Well,
And we hooted and celebrated and carried on and pounded my chest and yeah, I've killed a grizzly with a bow. I'm a man.
Woo!
Yeah. Change your boxers out real fast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I have two quick questions for you. So you mentioned that after you first made that shot, that you gave it some time before you followed up because you knew the arrow was back, right?
Yep.
Which is obviously what we've talked about before on the show. When you make a bad shot, really on any animal, but with this, especially with a bear, because they're not great bleeders a lot of the time, and because there's an element of danger to it. You know, you're not going to get bit to death by a moose if it gets. But if you bump a bear and you don't get a charge out of the deal, chances are you're going to push him into a harder spot to find him than he was already going to stop at.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much time did you guys end up giving that bear?
I want to say about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We sat down, had a snack.
Yeah. Calm the nerves.
Yeah.
you know.
Let the hands calm out. Yeah.
And then you mentioned something about the blood that you picked up.
Yeah, it was real dark.
Yeah.
It was obviously liver.
Okay.
Oh,
As opposed to what would you find if it would have been a heart or a lung shot?
Well, a
What's
lung shot,
the difference, right?
You're going to find really bright, frothy, some bubbles,
Mm-hmm.
blood. It's got some real pink to it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get a good pump shot, well, you know, it's the pump.
Yeah.
So it tends to bleed.
Yep.
Looks like somebody with a paintbrush, you know.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. I mean, like you say, you can hit them through the lungs, and if it's a high shot, that hair, that fat,
Yeah.
both of us. I mean, we've shot a lot of bears together, and we watch it on videos. I mean, that's perfect. And we
Mhm.
can't find a speck, but we just start following the bear
right.
trails.
Yep.
You know, 100 yards later, it's piled up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facing you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or just just
Yeah.
stood there and passed out.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
ran into a tree while he was going unconscious.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
They go blind. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had several
Yep.
do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that one you and I tracked down was piled up in a tree.
Well, yeah,
Like it
that-
ran
yeah.
straight into it.
Yep. Yep. I shot one bad quartering shot, but I'd had enough. And this was a big bear. He'd played games with me before, and I come to full draw on him because I thought he was standing up and he was gonna go to the bait. And as soon as I reached full draw, he just sat down and looks up over his shoulder at me like
Yeah.
that. And I was like, "Oh, come on." Well, 30 seconds, 45 seconds later, I didn't want to move because he wouldn't break the stare, and so this is a big bear, and I knew just from what he was doing on the camera, he didn't hang out very long. He'd be in there for 10, 15 minutes and he'd booger off. And so he stood up and he looked over his shoulder again. I tried to stand up to go around a branch from the stand, and halfway up, right in the middle of my squat, standing up, he turns back and looks at me again. And so now I'm halfway between standing and sitting in a tree stand with my bow at full draw, and we're approaching a minute, and he's just looking at me again. Then he eventually turned his head, went a step away, and I slipped one in right about back on his, I guess where his kidney would be. And it was hard quartering away, and that arrow came all the way out his neck.
Oh, yeah.
And he never moaned that I could hear. He made it down the hillside, I don't know, 45, 50 yards. I mean, 60 at the most. But the telltale sign was you could hear crash, 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 crash,
Mhm.
and then silence for about a half a second, and then smack, snap. And I looked over at James. I said, "He just crashed." He's
So-
dead down there somewhere.
So I was filming this. So we had 2 tree stands set up, and so I started I pushed record like a little bit before he drew back,
Mm-hmm.
and to tell you how long this bear was kind of playing the "I see you" game, and then go back to what he was doing. Oh, I still see you. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was playing that game. That video was almost 5 minutes long,
Oh,
and
man.
I stopped it right after the shot. Well, there was a little bit of high fiving and
Oh yeah.
all that, but
Oh, yeah.
he wasn't letting no movement go unnoticed,
Yeah.
and he was getting ready to get out of there. So that was a good hit for sure.
Yeah.
But
On the spot and stock grizzlies stories, there was another one that happened a few years later. I think it was when you were hunting, Randy. You two were there together, and I remember shale in a mountain and a bear coming down a mountain after, like rolling down. It was towards the end of the story. This was I remember hearing the story. A few days after it happened.
These aren't two
We
of our
do
best
shoot
hunts,
bears.
okay?
Hey, this is the exciting ones that I grew up, hearing the most about.
Most of our bears are one arrow.
Yeah.
Not this one.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was it was maybe a little over 6 foot blonde boar. We saw him, gosh, I don't know, was it midnight or something? A couple 100 yards off the road.
Yeah.
We jump out, it's spitting snow. We jump out with just our light jackets on, and I don't know, an hour and a half later, we're a mile and a half from the truck.
Thinking this was going to be a 30-minute hunt.
The wind just fluffed, and he got just a little whiff of us.
Yeah.
And he started wandering off, so we were following him, and we were just about to give up when he's starting to climb the mountain. We went all the way across the river, across the flats, and he's starting to climb up this mountain. Yeah, well, this is enough of this. And he laid down. So we go get up there. I get 15 yards from him. Jeff's over off to my side with a rifle, but I can't see nothing but a little hair tuft hump, but I don't have no idea. I don't even know which way he's laying because he got up and turned around several times.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what he did, but he got up and went over and pretty long shot, and he took a step, and I got shot at.
Okay.
So up the mountain he goes, gets over, comes up, lays down. So we sneak up. We can see him. We get up 50, maybe 40 yards, something like that. We're watching him. And he's doing the whole, I'm sick, rolling around. And it's cold. It's got to be like 20. It's snowing.
Yeah.
On and off, starts, stops. We say, well, let's just get down, give him some space, and we'll just go down here and give him a couple hours,
Yeah.
We start to move, and I don't think we go 5 yards, and he gets up and starts walking off.
Yeah.
So we go back up there. He lays down, he gets up, and pretty steep quarter and away shot, not crazy far, 30 or 35 yards. And I shoot, goes in. The arrow's literally up to the fletching, hanging out of his chest.
Yeah.
Bear still doesn't die.
Wow.
Walk another 100 yards, goes over this little lip, and we can't see him. So we're in big rocks, kinda up in sheep stuff.
Yep.
And we get over there, and we sit there and we wait, and neither one of us want to poke our head over that lip.
Yeah.
And about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes later, he comes back over, goes up, and we ease up there, and we're like 20 yards from him. And we get to where we can see, well, there's a big cliff over there. He couldn't go any further.
Yeah.
And I don't like shooting bears above me because when they die, down the hill they come. And we're talking, and we're thinking, okay, well, you get over here. I'm going to shoot. And if he comes down, I can dive underneath this rock. 15 yards.
Yeah.
So he finally turns and gives me a broadside shot, and I shoot him. Of course, here he comes. I dove under the rock, and he's literally rolling head over butt down this hill, bouncing. I mean, he broke his jaw.
Oh, wow.
Bouncing. He probably went 100 yards. I mean, it's really, really super steep stuff.
Yeah.
Literally sheep stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to dive under the rock. He went right over the top of us between me and Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
But
I don't know if it was 3 feet away when that thing, I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to hang on to. He had a hole to jump in. I'm trying to grab this rock to get out of the way from just the cliffside. The side of this mountain's so steep, we're trying to stay standing up and not fall off of it ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And here this thing comes, I mean, it ran up there and stopped after he shot it. And then it just collapses and, uh-oh.
Well, that worked out way too well.
Oh, it did.
Oh, yeah.
It passed us and landed back there and started moaning and groaning and
Really?
Yeah, it was
finally died.
It was like a 6-hour ordeal altogether.
Now, the real question is, was it rolling towards the truck or away from the truck?
It was
towards.
There
it was
you go.
going downhill.
All right. So it's all benefit. There you go.
You just get down to him, take a picture with him, and just kick him down the hill.
Yeah,
All right.
keep going.
You made it this far. Just keep on going.
Well, I think it's funny you put it out. These aren't your two greatest hunts, but
No.
I liked hearing stories like this because things never go as planned. You know, you have all
Oh,
these ideas of what's going to happen and how it's going to go, and all this practice you put into it, and things always go awry. And
Yeah.
you know, a lot of the media people see are perfectly placed shots and
Mhm.
quick dying
Right,
animals, and oh yes, woohoo! You know, we did it. But there's a lot of stories out there of things just kind of going sideways and getting a little western. So
I would say between the two of you guys, probably like over 80 bears total, or around there.
Oh, I have no idea.
I've
it's good when you
killed
get
31,
31.
30 of them with a bow.
There you go.
Yeah. But
I-
how many of those were?
No clue.
I mean, very very few of those were bad shots, right?
Oh yeah, most of those were over bait,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
Right.
I
Just
mean,
give people an idea of this isn't the
Past
common
narrow
experience
trail.
of a hunt,
Right,
like you
right.
said, like,
Right.
Right.
and you've probably killed at least what up in the 40s.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
It's,
and,
it's a good problem to have when you quit counting them.
He's
It's
pushing.
I just need to get a couple more.
there
yeah,
you go.
no, I don't know how you count.
Exactly.
Honestly, Dad, I don't know how you've counted to 31 because I've killed 5 and sometimes I lose track.
Well, I kind of interrupted you two on talking about how you got to baiting together to veer off into the spot and stalk stuff. So if you want to continue on that.
I think we started hunting goats together first. And then, hearing as we're talking and traveling, man, I
Mhm.
want to do that. I want to go grizzly bear hunting. When do you do that?
Well,
Well, we do that in the springtime. And they're
Mhm.
coming out of their holes. I'm like, okay.
yeah.
Well, when do we do it? Let me know. Well, okay, be in May. All right, we'll talk. And we took off. We just set a date, and May came around, and I was motivated. He was
Mhm.
motivated, trying to find a good partner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is a hard thing to do.
We've all been
sometimes.
Yeah.
And, we both love chasing bears, and we put up with each other. So, hey, it works out good.
There you go.
Like we do with our partners.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important no matter which partner it is.
Yeah.
He's willing to pack bait. All right, let's go, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll carry meat?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So what about your first bear bait together?
That I think when you shot that grizzly bear up on the side of the mountain there, we saw some bears going home.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you were really late. You called your wife and said, I got a grizzly bear and we're coming home. And we got a ways down the road, and I think we spent like 7 hours chasing bears. I think we killed like 3. Spotting,
Oh, yeah.
stalking black bears.
Nice.
So the next year we went up stalking grizzlies. We'd put a bait out on the way up, and then we'd hunt the bait coming back.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'd go
That's
up,
a good way to do it.
chase bears for a week.
We got 2 caribou on that trip, didn't we?
One trip, I don't know if it was that one or not. Maybe.
I think I took a caribou and a grizzly bear. Yeah, this was one of our best. I mean, this was a trip of a lifetime. And we're traveling north on the famous ice road truckers haul road.
Yeah.
And if you've driven a dirt road, well, it's similar.
Worse, but similar.
In some regards, but it's
Think
not
of a
as-
dirt road that's been bombed, and then
Right.
Yeah,
it's not quite that bad, but some years.
they make it awful. A lot of drama in all those shows.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway,
How do you even make it up those hills? I don't understand.
but there had been a big road project, and what had happened was DOT had done this hydro seeding.
Mm.
It was out in the middle of the wilderness. Okay, they
Yeah.
had fixed this road and did this hydro seeding. And hydro seeding is where grass and fertilizer and all this stuff is sprayed on there, and it all shoots up real quick.
Yep.
Well, that was oblivious to both of us. We had no idea, and maybe we should try that at our baits. I don't know, but
Get with the microgreens.
that grass grew up about 6 inches.
Yeah.
And when we were driving up the road to go grizzly bear hunting, we come along this nice long stretch of the road, and Randy's got hawk eyes in his head. He's got real good eyeballs, and hey, there's a bear. And there's a bear on the side of the road up there grazing in this grass.
Mm-hmm.
Only green thing forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything else is still brown.
Yep.
There's still slots of snow, and there's green grass. and is right in the spot where the sun's got it all thawed out. And we pull over and go to try to make a plan to stalk this thing. And I think before we could do much, somebody else spooked it.
Yeah, it run off when we got there, but we didn't do a whole lot. We went on up grizzly bear hunting, but we remembered and we were looking when we come back, and sure enough, there was one there, and we run on by and parked and snuck back up through the woods. And sure enough, I don't think it was 15 minutes, and here it come back out.
Yeah.
And then there was just bears everywhere.
Yeah.
When we circled around in the woods there and we're moving around trying to, and we got a couple 100 yards between us and at least 100 yards between us on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And we're moving up through that brush there. There is green bear poop everywhere.
Really?
Just full of grass.
Oh.
I mean, everywhere. We're both looking at each other wide-eyed like, what in the world is happening here? This is where the bears are. And we get up there and bear comes out and gets spooked and run. I think somebody came along and ran that one off.
Car.
And we're looking at each other and I'm just like, all right, there's bears here. Let's just hang out for a little while.
Yeah.
It wasn't long.
Yep.
There came another one walking out. And then, Randy shot that one.
That's where we get that first big cinnamon, was off that grass right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice pocket of cinnamon bears right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that, when the bear came back out, didn't it? It run off before you could get a shot and it climbed this tree.
No, that was a different bear.
That was a different bear?
Yeah.
That was the next one that came out. If I can get this all straight.
I don't remember.
Sounds like a good spot.
It was crazy.
Well,
I'd never seen so many bears in such a small little place in my life ever. Not even since. I mean, other than on the bait, when you got all bears coming in. But
this was the first green, fresh grass they had to eat coming out of hibernation.
That's what you're looking for when you're out spring stalking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he shot that bear, it ran off, and we're looking at each other. And I think we hear some weird sound. There was another bear coming through the woods. We're both looking at each other, unfamiliar with the sound. Like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just giving us warning, but it was making this whining, weird sound. And we're both just real puzzled looking at each other. And it comes out, and we're both wide-eyed. Look at the size of that thing. And it's out there for a little while feeding, too far away for us to do anything. And then I think it runs back and runs up a tree. And then we're both going, what is that thing afraid of?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, it did.
There's got to be a real nice bear
That's
here.
when the big cinnamon come out.
That's when the big cinnamon came out.
Bear up he knew it was coming. They obviously had interacted before.
I'm dying at this point because I have a gun and he has the bow. And my bow is way down there in the truck. And I'm like, hold on, man, it's my turn.
Right.
He's just like, I love Randy. We're great bear hunters, but I know this. If you hesitate, he's shooting it.
Yep.
And he was the same thing for me.
Yep.
The opportunity's there. Let's kill the bear and then we'll fight over it.
Yep. Yeah. You don't want to miss the opportunity. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We'll get over it. There'll be another bear.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
But I eventually he shot that one
Mm-hmm.
and it ran off. And I said, dude, I'm going to the truck, get my bow. And I was gone. I got my bow.
You're not tagging out in one trip.
We got back up there. And when I got my bow, and I looked over on the other side of the road, well, there was a bear over there in grass. And I waved to Randy, and he comes running over there. So we start stalking that one. And we shot that one. And it ran off in the woods and died. So at this point,
It was fun.
we're going.
Now you got 3 to go find.
Okay, now we got 3. All right. And that wasn't the last bears we saw.
Man.
But both of us are saying, no, man, we got 3 bears. Okay.
Right. At least get them in the truck first, then you see how you feel.
let's find them,
Yep.
And that's how we found our first bear baiting spot.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, the conversation on the way home, we're putting a bait out up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at that point.
And it was awesome. I mean, it was just shopping up there. Just awesome.
No, there's definitely a lot of, I mean, it's one thing we preach about on this show is, set on sign. When you go into an area and, the bears aren't going to be where you want them to be. The bears are where the bears want to be.
Mhm.
If you find where the bears want to be, it's a good spot.
Oh, yeah. This wouldn't have been a place I would have picked.
Mm-hmm.
Would not have been a place I would have picked.
Yeah. And the more I talk to people, the more I realize it's just wherever they want to be. I mean, there's some rhyme and reason to picking a spot that you can choose. Okay, I want to check out this area over here. Oh, this looks like a good spot here just based on water access and, scent distribution and stuff. But then I hear people putting baits in spots I would never think to put a bait and just being piled up with them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and it's just they're like a mix between a raccoon and a coyote, man. They're just like, they're curious. They survive no matter where. They adapt to their environment. They're amazing creatures. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of bears around now, as opposed to when I first come up here.
Really? You think more now than there was? Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
Good.
Way more grizzly
So there's
bears.
still a chance to have a day like that.
Oh, yeah. There is.
Yeah.
I mean, other than like Kodiak,
Right,
we were there
right.
a couple of years ago and we flew over this creek 3 times and couldn't count all the bears.
Really?
Could not physically count all the bears while we were flying over before we landed. We were going to goat hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And we did end up going up that creek. Our third choice because we didn't want to walk up that creek.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we ran into 14 bears in the first half mile.
Wow.
But they're fish bears,
Yeah.
Um,
They've got bigger problems.
yeah, they're fed.
Speaking of that, so we had a gentleman named Jeff Day on the show a couple times now.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a couple stories to tell about the Kodiak trip. And not to get too sidetracked off
That's
of
right.
the bear baiting, but I mean, it's all bear related. As he had put it, it was, as long as you're in your tent, you're safe. And then somewhere
right.
along the lines, he said something about somebody cooking popcorn in his tent.
Oh, my word.
He's paranoid.
That is a good term for it. I think, yeah.
He's very paranoid.
What were you guys carrying for a backup rifle back when you were doing the spot and stalk grizzly bear hunts? Was that
Back
still
then.
4570 or were you carrying something
No.
else?
I carried on my baits, I carried a pistol until I got charged by 2 bears at once. That was the last day I ever carried a pistol.
Mm.
Now I carry a 4570 with super hot hand loads.
Yeah.
But back then, I think
4570.
you had a 4570.
Yeah.
I think we were using a shotgun when I first started.
Okay.
That's just what we had.
Well, it's better than throwing rocks, but
It was, yeah, that's
That's
it.
true.
That's what we had
yeah.
with slugs.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of that 4570.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I bring into.
That's the exact same story. The first time I ever went out with Jeff here to a bear bait, Mariah had shot his first bear with a bow the previous night. I jumped in the truck with Jeff the next morning.
To be clear, not my first bear.
The first bear with a bow.
With a
Right,
bow. There you go.
right.
All right.
I jumped in the truck with Jeff the next morning, real early. Didn't sleep at all. I was all, jacked up on adrenaline because Mo had just shot his bear with a bow. That was my first year of baiting as a teenager. And so we went out and we had to just go stalk a couple of baits, right? And the first one that we went into, middle of the day, just walking in there, and there was that big boar and sow grizzly.
This the creek
Just-
bait?
Hill.
Oh, the hill bait?
And they were sleeping on the bait
Oh, yeah.
at noon with the sun out.
Yep.
And it was so bad because you're trying to look up through those birch trees and you can't quite tell because the sun is orange. The grizzly bears are that orangish brown. And they stood up and I had a single action 44 Magnum revolver. And Jeff had his 4570, a 44 Magnum, and his bow. And I felt severely undergunned. Quite severely.
Yep.
And of course, as soon as, because Jeff's in front of me and he's looking and he stops and he's looking up. He goes, there's the bait up there. I think there's a couple of bears sleeping on it. oh, are you kidding me? I'm like, are they black bears? And I had my recurve because Jeff was going to let me shoot one if we got the chance. And no, and they stood up and they start blowing and carrying on. Then they run past us at like 10 yards down the hill. And the boar was looking at us side-eyed as he goes down. And of course, I had long since cleared leather. A pistol was pointed at him. And, I didn't know anything about bear baiting at all. And so I thought, well, they must be charging. And I didn't know any better. They were just taking off and trying to intimidate us, just going by us. And man, it's enough of a rush just seeing one of them that close. But when you see a boar and a sow, like you said, that'll change your whole mind. And after that trip, I've never gone into a bear bait without a rifle since then.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
you get charged, even if they're just running by you.
yeah,
There isn't a pistol big enough.
no, there's
No.
not.
And most
Yeah.
rifles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
400 grains out of a 45-70.
that's an attitude adjuster.
That'll stop them.
Yeah. I shot a little tiny pest bear for somebody with a 45-70, 420 grain hard cast. It was like 10 feet. It was, 2-3-year-old bear, small. It flipped the bear completely over.
And it was a perfect mug shot too.
It was right through the side of the face.
Oh, no.
right down in, went all the way, complete pass through, and completely flipped that bear over.
I love the 45-70. That is a phenomenal
It does
round.
a good job. Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, the lever action is just, there's something about it that I love. I don't think ever in my life I'll ever get away from a lever action.
Oh, yes.
Like, I mean, for certain things, if you end up thinking you're going to have to shoot long range, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, for close,
I don't know if there's a better backup gun for
Doing
a bait
some-
station.
CQBH,
CQB
close
H?
quarter bear hunting.
Oh, there you go.
Close quarter bear hunting. All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to stealthyhunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA. So speaking of using a rifle at a bear bait, we talk a little bit about your past and, getting into bear baiting together. This is going to be difficult to delineate timeline. So we'll just kind of pick and choose some things out, particular questions that over all the years, not particular any timeline. But obviously you chose to hunt with archery predominantly over all these bear baits in the years. Jeff, you've shot one bear with a gun, you said, and you've shot two with a gun, right? So probably safe to say that there's 60 plus easy between the two of you with archery equipment. If Jeff's at 30, I believe that you're over 30. At least that's according to you.
I guarantee
Yeah.
he's over
Yeah.
30.
Yeah. So it's being modest to say a combined 60 with a bow.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years of baiting, between that mid to late 90s time frame and then into what we're seeing nowadays, you guys talk a little bit about grizzly bears. Did you see a change between baits that had predominantly black bears and then changing into grizzly bears over the time and grizzly bears taking over baits?
I gave up 2 of my best bear baits because they're just inundated with grizzly bears.
Really?
Yeah.
And I'm talking like, I think one day I had 9 different grizzly bears on the camera.
Wow.
That was before Brutus just moved in. And
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
he lays there. He will lay there and eat 200 plus pounds of food and won't leave.
Yeah.
Nothing can come to the bait. I even quit baiting for 2 years at that spot. Went back the next spring and he was there 3 days later. First bear on the bait. Lay there, eat. I think
Unbelievable.
I put 250 pounds on there the first time I baited.
Yeah.
He laid right there and ate every bite. And he doesn't leave. He walks over. I mean, you got to bait around water.
Right.
but
Right.
I put this particular bait in because my wife can't do terrain very well.
Yep.
Her right leg doesn't work good, and
Yep.
it was flat.
Yeah.
So we're right next to a creek, and it's awesome. You're sitting there, and the creek's making noise,
Yeah.
and you
Oh,
get
yeah.
a little movement,
Yep.
But the bears don't have to go anywhere for a drink.
Right.
So the big bears will move in and just lay there,
Mm-hmm.
particularly Brutus or any big monster bear.
I got to meet Brutus one time
I'm sorry.
with a black bear carcass hanging out of his chops. Like a great white shark with a seal. He was walking off.
Oh
with.
yeah, he's massive.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, well, I shot a black bear and he was hitting the bait pretty hard, and I wasn't going to go over and mess with it by myself till Jeff was hunting a different bait till he came in. I literally took a rope and tied the back leg to a tree and then backed out of there until Jeff came in. And sure enough, Brutus came in halfway through skinning it
Really?
and
He was
started
blowing.
popping his teeth and blowing. And we're both grabbing guns. And
Wow.
so you got to be careful.
Yeah.
I mean, I
sure.
can't tell you how many bears have watched us skin bears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Follow you back to the truck.
Yep.
I mean,
Huh.
mostly little bears.
Right.
Big bears.
Yeah.
Typically won't do that, but
Mm-hmm.
Well, rest assured, if you're out there bear baiting, bear hunting, especially bear baits,
Yeah.
there's bears sitting out there watching you coming in and going out.
Yep.
Or just in a
Mhm.
different part of the woods, or they just can hear you coming in and coming out.
Right. Right.
But you know good and well there's times that they watch me walk right past them and I just didn't even see them laying over there sleeping or
Mhm.
just sitting up. I mean, it's just how they are,
Mm-hmm.
especially around the bait because they got a food source.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But back when I first started baiting, at least especially, which was around town here.
Yeah.
I don't bait around town anymore. On the rare occasion you did get a grizzly bear, they were really spooky.
Mm-hmm.
If they see you, you just pitch a water bottle at them or something,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
move and they're gone and probably ain't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't run them off the bait.
Mm.
Literally,
yeah.
you can't run them off the bait. You get, I don't know how many bears have just sit there and blown and stomped and, for a minute over the rifle barrel before they finally decide to leave. And they're not slinking off. They're knocking trees over and
Yeah.
blowing and huffing. And
Oh, yeah.
um,
2003, I think, was the first time I saw a grizzly bear on a bait.
Mm.
I started in 93, 10 years, black bears, and that particular bait with Ron, I think we got we killed a bunch of bears on there, but there were several of us, and he brought friends, and I had friends, and there was a couple years there, we got like 22 bears. I mean, there was just
Mm-hmm.
black bear after black bear after black bear. And then the grizzly bear showed up. Now we're all scared.
Yeah.
This is
Mhm.
king of the jungle.
Right. Right.
But they were real. They smelled you. They were gone.
Yeah.
They were spooky. And after a while, they're coming in and you're seeing them. And, well, there's a blunt, a little small game blunt that you screw in the end of your arrow that's good for killing small game. Well, I always kept one in my bow. Squirrel, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
sitting out there, a rabbit, grizzly bear.
Yeah,
Well, I'd blunt them and holler at them,
yep.
shoot them in the butt or,
Just give them a little spook. Yeah.
oh yeah, well,
Yep.
first couple times I did that, man, I'd never see that bear again. Never had any evidence it was coming back to my bait, And that's when we had cameras. Of course, they were the older ones where I never had the ones with film. I had the ones with the big flash card, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
About 12 inches tall and 8D batteries.
yeah. Great big D batteries.
It was good for about
Yeah.
25 pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16 pounds. Yeah, whatever it was.
You'd have to restock the flash with gunpowder after every session.
But,
Nice. Nice.
you had to pull your card and
Mhm.
take it back home in order to be able to see anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go home
Yep.
and develop the film. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
they used to be that way, but first ones I had were that way. But it would literally spook them enough.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did that for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Mariah and I when this grizzly bear comes in and he decides he's going to blunt it. And he blunts it. And he didn't leave. He got mad.
Mm.
He turned around, blowing, screaming, hollering, coming right at us. I mean, we weren't 15 yards away in bear bait stands. We were sitting in 2 different stands, and shaking his head and standing up, and he was mad. And I wound up spraying him with pepper spray.
Yeah.
And he left after that. But I thought, we ain't doing that anymore.
Right.
Wise choice.
Yeah.
Now, what do you contribute that shift in attitude to? Just the population size, or do you think maybe hunting pressure? Maybe they know what humans are now where they didn't before? Or
Well, obviously they got real familiar with us.
Right,
They weren't used to the baiting scenario. Black bears get accustomed. They know you're putting bait there. They smell that. Their routine coming in and out, hearing the noise. Even in remote areas, they get accustomed to it, especially around town. There's so many baits in the outlying areas around Fairbanks. But we were traveling many hours to get away from all that. And the bears just got very accustomed that we were there. And they realized that they're king of the jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And town bears act different than bears way out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
They're used to all the noise,
Yeah, but
garbage.
they seem to be a little spookier. The town bears do, and they'll just go to somebody else's bait.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
High pressure areas where there's plenty of food.
which is why I try to get way far away. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's your best bet.
Yeah, exactly. So, quick question about Brutus. What year do you think you guys first saw Brutus?
I know I have pictures of him in 14, and I
Okay.
think he was there for a couple of years before that.
Okay. So, by 2013, 14, he was already a big bear,
It's massive.
already a huge bear.
I shot a bear. I don't know when it was.
You got the old
5
man,
years
yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
and he's like 23, 24, Pope and Young,
Mm-hmm.
and he is nothing compared to Brutus.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Brutus is massive.
Yeah.
He's just
He's just
So, if
huge.
Brutus was already that big when he was showing up at that bait
Oh, yeah.
site, he was probably between 6 and 10 years old. Probably leaning a little bit more towards the 10 years old side, wouldn't you think? Because he's already been
he was
filled out.
absolutely filled out. I mean, I
Right.
got pictures of him. I
Right.
mean, he looks like he's got little stub legs, and
Yeah.
I got him standing over a half a 55-gallon drum, cut lengthwise.
Yeah.
Just in half,
Yeah.
sitting upright. And he didn't even come nowhere near his belly, and his belly sags down like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got a giant hump on his back.
So by then, if he is approximately, let's just say 8 years old, and that was 2013 or 14,
Yeah, I know I got really nice pictures of him in
Right.
14.
And so
but I
we're
think
in
he was-
2024 now, that's 10 years later. So that grizzly bear is at least, at minimum, 16 to 20 years old.
I would say push 20
At least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that bear has been hitting bear baits all over the place because I'm sure now that,
Oh, no, just mine and
well,
Jeff's up there.
Oh, we fed him.
Literally, he ran out, and the year after him and that sow charged me, full blown charge.
yeah.
He ran at me the next year, and I just put a 45-70 into a tree beside him,
Mm-hmm.
and he turned around 4 hours later, 5 hours later, he was on the other bait.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you ever try to target him?
No, I'm real flaky about he's there because of the bait.
Mhm.
So I quit baiting there, and I just didn't get time to go up and chase him.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an area where you can't shoot grizzly bears over bait.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the one he shot was in a different game unit,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
and it was probably 20-year-old
That
bear.
bear was older than dirt.
Very old. He had white tips on his ear tops, and yeah.
He was scarred up. I mean, one of my favorite things is when you're cutting all the meat up, because
Yeah,
we eat
yeah.
them all. I mean, I even eat the grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is seeing the damage that's been done to him. you
Yeah.
know. This bear was on my bait for 2 years. You couldn't shoot him. I thought he was collared.
Mm.
Oh, really?
I'm feeding this collared bear, and 2 years. I mean, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, Well, it was scar. I
Yeah.
think he got snared in a snare when he was little. little.
Yeah.
But he's got a 2-inch scar all the way around his neck.
Huh.
He's got big scars on top of his head. He's got big scars on his shoulders.
Yeah.
His hair's always been real junky and nasty.
Yeah.
Mhm.
His face is tore all to pieces.
Yeah.
yeah, he's just
He's
scarred
a
up.
fighter.
He's got probably inch and a half of scar tissue all down his sides. His
Just
right
that
rear,
war paneling, just like pigs get.
his right rear leg. You got 2 main leg bones there.
Yep.
They were broke in 3 different places and mended back together.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
He was
Wow.
beat up. And I've looked over the barrel of my rifle at him probably 6-8 times for a minute or better, waiting to see if he was just going to leave or not.
Yeah.
And he finally left every time, but I mean freight train stuff. Just
Uh-huh.
he left, but he wasn't happy about it, and he'd let you know.
No.
Did you ever send in a tooth to get that one aged?
I did, and I've done that every time they sealed a bear, and not one time have they ever told me.
Oh, really?
It was.
So I heard that there's an independent third party group that you can send
Oh.
it to in like Montana or something
Oh,
like
really?
that.
Mm.
And so
I
that's
haven't heard
that's
that.
what I'm going to start doing with mine.
But this one was really old.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That's why I was asking, because he looks older than bear baiting itself. I mean, he's
Yeah, he's
he's ancient.
Well, and that's like the perfect bear to show all these anti-hunters that are like, you shouldn't hunt the bears. Just let them live their happy life in the wilderness with all their friends and
Yeah,
their bear
right.
wives and their bear children
Out
and
there frolicking in the
die,
fields.
die in the woods surrounded by their loved ones. Like,
Right.
show them that bear. The reality of a bear's life in the woods.
Oh,
Like,
I've got some.
Oh, they're brutal.
Seems
Yeah.
like the big bears that are real spooky, because we bait way away
Yeah.
from town.
Yeah.
If they're real spooky, there's a reason. I
Mhm.
had one that took me 2 or 3 days to shoot. Crazy spooky. One of those that climb over, grab one piece of dog food, go back over and eat it.
Mhm.
Climb over the back of the bait, And I
Mhm.
finally ended up full draw before he ever even came in for like a minute and a half and
Mm-hmm.
lean sideways. And the third or fourth time he come in, I did that. It finally worked and he gave me a shot and I shot him. But he was, he had 5 separated ribs in his sternum.
Oh, no way.
5 of them were completely separated.
Wow.
Had been that way for years.
Huh.
He had a big gore mark, or a bullet hole. I don't know. Something scar tissue went in like 3 inches inside his chest cavity.
Wow.
A scar about the size of your finger. I assume he got poked by a bull moose.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But he was crazy spooky.
Huh.
Wow.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. If I could just have a GoPro attached to these bears
Right.
and just see what they go through,
Right.
just in a year, that's the
It's-
amount of drama in their, let alone in their entire life.
Yeah.
And that just builds that personality, and you don't know which one you're going to get when you walk into the bait site.
Well, and if you're baiting, you really should have a trail camera.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I was amazed when I finally, when cameras came out and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were affordable for normal people. The amount of bear activity in the daytime,
Yeah.
Mhm.
particularly if you got big monsters hitting at night, a lot
Yeah.
of those smaller bears will be eaten in the daytime.
Right.
But it gives you peace of mind. You can say, okay, I know this bear has cubs
Mm-hmm.
because they don't always bring them in.
Right.
Right.
They'll stash them somewhere, especially if there's a lot of bears at your bait.
Yep. Yep.
It gives you, okay, I know this bear has cubs.
Yep.
Ton you can learn going through those bear pictures on
Mhm.
your computer.
Oh, yeah.
Just clicking through them and looking at when they're coming in and out. And
Yep. Pattern them.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, this bear's going to come in at this time. This bear's going to come in at this time.
Well, and it's crazy how precise they are. Like some of the
Oh, yeah.
bears, they'll come in at 8 p.m. every day. And it's
it's-
almost like they have a clock, like a watch. And
Yeah.
it's weird.
They were probably stealing all your old clocks from back in the day.
They learned to tell time.
They just got like a big time tower. All right, guys, it's 6:00. Everybody go eat.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really nice is put those cameras up kind of high.
Yeah.
I've had so many cameras eaten.
Mm. We talked about
I put a brand new one up. First bear that walked in, the camera.
We did salvage the SD
Oh,
card, though.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got a nice
It's just-
open jaw
You
picture.
got a nice
of that.
picture of his
Big
tonsils.
Tonsils, yeah.
Yeah.
So many Toro cameras.
Oh,
And
that's
Yeah.
be real clean, keep
Right.
keep the grease
Right.
off your hands.
no
Yep.
cross contamination. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I try to bring in an extra pair of gloves, like even just
Yeah.
regular
Yeah.
little gloves that the only thing those are for is touching cameras.
Yeah, I
The
do the same
first thing
thing.
I
You know.
do is do my camera and then,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
do your
Yep.
bait. And
That's the same thing I started
Yeah.
doing.
Keep
Yeah.
them clean.
the other nice thing is to keep your tree stands. I like them kind of low.
Yeah.
Some people,
Yep.
I like them real low,
Yeah.
Yeah.
preferably out of arm's
swatting reach. Yeah.
Yeah, for the bigger bears. But
Yeah.
the higher up you get,
Steeper.
yeah, you get a bigger chance of hitting that shoulder blade.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, I'll take a quarter and away shot before I take a broadside shot any day.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Me too.
Just in fact, when my wife goes, she doesn't shoot a real heavy bow. I put her in a ground blind.
Mm-hmm.
Just for that reason.
Just so that you don't have any angles to work with. She doesn't have to worry about
that
hitting a little bit higher.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's no chance of that.
Shooting 50, 52 pounds.
Yeah.
It's really nice to not have to worry about that.
And I've been into one of your baits, Jeff, and your tree stand is barely above my head at that one. I'm pretty sure
It's tight. Yeah.
It might be about 8 feet. I think.
Yeah.
But it's also on a hillside, so
That's true. That's true.
the bears are uphill. So
That's my
Just flat
preferred
shoot.
way to set them
Yeah.
up.
It's
Yeah.
dead level with the bait site. Yeah.
Yeah.
I walked in there. I
That's
was
the way
like,
I like them.
whoa.
Yeah.
Point being, it's not whitetail stuff, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never
Yeah.
had whitetails, but I see these tree stands and they're like 20 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need to do that. But
Get away
Yeah.
from the shoulder blade.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. I was talking about that actually the other day with somebody else. So talking about archery equipment a little bit, you guys did a lot of bow hunting over these bear baits and you pretty much stuck with the bows. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that get wrapped around the axle about what poundage bow you should be shooting, how fast should your bow be, how heavy or light should your arrows be, what kind of broadheads do you shoot? And I have my opinion, Mariah has his opinion, and you guys have your opinions, but I'd like to hear both of your opinions about what you've been shooting, average draw weight, what you preferred broadheads over the years, different things that you might have tried and didn't pan out so well. I guess we'll start with you, Jeff.
Well, I think I bought myself a new Hoyt when I came to Alaska. I'd heard about Hoyt bows and wasn't able to. Came up here with a Browning Nomad wooden compound bow.
Ooh, I had one of them.
And I'd killed deer with it. I still got it. Took it apart, put it in a box so it didn't blow up. But and I killed a caribou with it up here, and I killed a bear with it up here. But I forget what it was, but it was a Fast Flight Hoyt something, I think was the name of it. And I had it cranked up there, 25, 26, made of steel. Thought I could pull back everything. And remember showing it to Randy, and weight was probably 70 pounds on it or something. You pull it back. And he said, you wait till you get cold. You won't be able to, it can be hard to pull that thing back when you get cold. And I remember saying, oh, that'll never happen to me.
I remember that. And I said, oh.
The very next week, I'm sitting in a tree stand at 1, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And this bear comes in. It had been a slow season. I was still very new and green at this. And this bear comes in and finally gets comfortable to come into the bait and settles down a little bit. And I'm trying to pull this bow back, and I'd been shivering because I was cold. And
Mhm.
this is Alaska, okay? When the sun's shining, we got lots of daylight, but in the evening, it starts dropping pretty quick. The temperature does. And after 11 o'clock midnight, even in June, it can get cold.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm trying to pull this bow back, making all kinds of noise and probably doing a little bit of aerobic exercise in the process. I finally get the bow back, and the bear's looking at me. And I'm trying to get together to make the shot, and it takes off, and I never even get the shot. And I turned my bow down after that a little bit, just so after you're sitting there cold, you can relax and pull that thing back. And there's a lot of guys that's probably got a similar story because
Mhm.
you get cold, you get stiff, and or just that shivering a little bit.
You're just sitting still for so long, just doing nothing.
You get
know?
stoved up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And being able to grab your, 80-pound bow isn't so easy when it is standing in the backyard,
Right.
70 degrees,
Yeah.
shooting away. But
Right.
never forgotten those words. So, so there's poundage ratings, legality. You got to be able to shoot 45, 50 pounds in some states.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got to be there. But, what you can shoot very well and you're comfortable with, I love cut on contact broadheads.
Mm.
They're going to cut. They're going to punch a hole. They're going to do the job. Enough weight. But just like with a gun, I mean, what you can handle, what you can shoot, what you can hit, what you're aiming at.
Yep.
That has a lot to do than go buying something brand new that you're unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a huge point.
What you're practiced with and you're competent with at the target range. Well,
Mhm.
going to need to change a few things for hunting, but and get familiar with your animal.
Yep.
Right.
Bears are a big fluffy ball, and learning where to shoot them.
Yeah.
It's not the same as a whitetail. You got to move back a little bit. And, just basic stuff like that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that ability to have repetition in your practice. I mean, a lot of people have that issue with a rifle. They'll go out and buy this huge rifle or this huge pistol to use as bear backup, and nobody's going to go down to the range and shoot 50 rounds of 500 Smith & Wesson.
No.
And get proficient with it. And,
Yeah.
a lot of guys, even 375s like we carry, the Rugers. I mean, that's a lot of push when you pull the trigger on that.
Oh, yeah.
So, and if you're not comfortable going to the range, if you can't squeeze off more than 5 rounds without it hurting your shoulder and developing a flinch, and it doesn't mean just as a gun guy talking, that's not a good thing. I mean, I'm assuming it's the exact same thing with a bow. If you can't shoot it at repetition without wearing out your shoulder and getting lazy with your form and stuff like that, I mean, it's a huge deal.
Archery.
You got to practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Archery is a big time perishable skill.
Yeah.
And I just reminded myself of that in the last 2 weeks because I hadn't shot all winter time long. And my buddy was up here from Sutton a couple weekends ago, and it was sunny. It was one of our nice 45-degree days a couple weeks ago before it turned back to winter. And we walked over to that UAF bail target range there by Blaine Lake. And you can walk in there, and there's bail targets from 20 out to like 80 or 90 yards.
Oh, nice.
And it's beautiful. And they're like 5 foot by 5 foot square bag targets. So even if you miss, you're not going to miss the.
Yeah.
And so I started at like 40 yards, and my buddy and I were just shooting, and I stretched it out to 70. And I think I got 3 groups in of 5 arrows. And my left arm was just all over that target.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, within a pie plate or just bigger that I was just hovering around, right? And you always have some hover. That's the same thing with a gun. Your goal is not to stop the pin from moving. Your goal is to make it hover around the center and then just naturally break off that shot. But my hover was far too big to be shooting that far. I had a group about half the size of this table. It felt like it wasn't quite that bad, but I pretty quickly called it quits and said, I need to stop, because if you start shooting like that, then that's when you develop your bad habits.
Right. And archery is very specific muscles
Yes.
that you develop shooting a bow.
Yeah.
Period. End of subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember my grandpa talking about back in the days having the archery shop there in California. And there was a big bodybuilder's gym. And this was back, Rambo days, the Schwarzenegger days. And so bodybuilding was this big thing. And he used to have this 110 or 120 pound draw weight recurve sitting behind the shelf. And he said he'd have guys walking in there with a girl hanging off their arm. And what's your heaviest poundage bow? And, I want to shoot a bow like Rambo. And so he'd turn, and my grandpa was like, I don't know, 5'10" and a $160 soaking wet. He wasn't a big guy, but he'd been shooting a bow all of his life. And he'd pull that recurve back a couple times with each arm and go, yeah, try this one out. And they'd struggle to get it even past their elbow.
Yep.
One guy dry fired an 80-pound compound and wrapped the string around his forearm and had a blood blister wrapped like a whip run around his arm.
Oh, my.
And he walked out of there and went to the hospital, but just to your point, that's a completely different set of muscles.
Yes.
Just because you're muscle strong doesn't mean that you're bow strong.
Yeah.
It's totally
yeah.
different.
Well, and I can attest to that. Just trying to get into this world, I'm kind of hoping to get into this bear hunting with a bow, maybe take a moose with a bow. I've always shot rifle, so kind of a new thing for me. But I'm a fairly strong guy. When I was an electrician, I was picking up bunks of rigid pipe and just walking across the job site. Picking up 2x4s by the bundle, walking across the job site. Throwing things over my shoulder, no problem, and just go. Like, I don't consider myself weak by any stretch, right? But man, I went to Screaming Eagle when I bought my bow. I just recently got a Matthews Atlas.
Okay.
It's not set up yet. Got to finish doing that. But he set it to 65 pounds. And,
Ooh,
I'm thinking in my head,
that's a lot.
Really?
If you're
If you're
haven't
just
shot
starting
a
out,
bow before,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah. And I thought that was low. I thought I was going to walk in there and be like, yeah, the 75, 80 pounder, for sure.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I could throw 150 pounds over my shoulder, no problem. Like it's nothing. I walk in there and he's like, well, let's set it to 65. He got me all set up so I can test my draw length because I'm just stupidly tall. I hate it, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
I walk in there, I had 2 bow options to buy. So the whole shop doesn't matter to me. I only have these 2 options. But I was amazed at how, like, I got it back, don't get me wrong, but like it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. It's not like just picking something up off the ground. It was a whole different set of muscles, and like,
I would probably back that baby off to like 50 or 55.
yeah.
Especially
learn-
just to get competent. in your
I'd back
shooting,
it to the
yeah.
bottom.
Well, and it's pretty easy too because the Matthews, I like the way that they have there's just the different mods you put on
Yeah.
Yep.
that change your weight. So that makes it pretty easy.
Yeah.
Keep
But
it comfortable so you can
Yeah.
have good practice,
Just
not
learn,
be stressed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just learn the mechanics of it. Make it easy to shoot. You
That's
know?
I got to come over to your house sometime and have
Yeah.
you show me
Oh yeah.
all that
Right,
stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Piece of cake.
I shot when I was a kid, but man, that was so long
Yeah.
ago, and I doubt I had right form back then because I was losing arrows left and right.
And that bow hunting world that we're living in right now, and it's the same thing really across the board in the hunting industry, but there is so many options out there between bow companies and different axle to axle lengths. And now with a 32-inch draw length, I can shoot a 30-inch bow.
Yeah.
It never used to be that way, but they're building them so compact and so tight. But can I shoot a 30-inch bow comfortably? No.
Mm-hmm.
It's too torquey in my hand.
I like long bows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long axle to axle length.
Right,
Always
right.
have, always will.
The one that I've got right now that I've shot for the last few years, I think is like 32 and a half. And it's the longest one I could get in that model because that model was on sale at that time. But I was looking at newer bows and I thought for sure, like if I upgrade or when I upgrade at some point, I say that because my wife's going to be listening to this. I'm a lot more attracted to those 34-inch axle to axles.
Well, that's the way they're developing a lot of the new big, like the top line Hoyts
Yeah.
are still long, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that Atlas I bought is like 34 and a half axle
Yeah.
to axle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's a lot
But-
more comfortable, a lot more stable.
yeah.
And it's still a lot more
It's-
compact
it's
than
still
shooting
sub 5 pounds.
Yeah,
Like,
it's still a lot more compact
not
than
heavy.
shooting a 64-inch recurve out of a bear bait stand.
Right.
Because I've
Yeah.
done that.
Well, you got to be the bear bait. You can shoot anything you want.
Right.
It's when you're sitting in the tundra fixing to shoot a caribou and you're scritching down as low as you can get, and you can't let the bottom of your bow hit the ground.
Right. Right. You stick that bottom limb tip in the dirt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got bit there a couple times.
Yeah.
So what about you, Randy? What did you start off hunting bears with as far as archery equipment goes, and what'd you end up with?
Ooh, I don't even remember what I was shooting when I first started. But most of my life, I've shot Hoyts.
Okay.
I'm shooting a prime right now.
So you got the hat on. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yes.
and the shirt.
Well, I
you
guess so.
sponsored by those guys?
No.
Just a fan.
I like Hoyts.
Yeah.
I'm shooting a prime at the moment, but I used to shoot real heavy weights, but I can remember when 200 feet a second was really fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now people would laugh at that. But I'm probably shooting like 62 right now,
Yeah.
62 pounds.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
That's, it's comfortable.
Yep.
You don't have to get crazy.
What's the Alaska big game rig on that? 55 pounds, I think.
It's 50 for most things, but I think black bears was one of the exceptions, and it's like I want to say
I-
45.
45.
I know
Yeah.
they break it up between
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
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 But,
For most big game, it's 50 and over.
okay.
And to put that into perspective, my wife is 5 feet tall.
hmm
When she hasn't shot in quite a while now, but when she was shooting, we had to start her at 15 pounds.
Wow.
Mm.
And she
Yeah.
got to where, I mean, she had to shoot all the time, but she got to where she could shoot 50, 52 pounds comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for an hour,
Mhm.
60, 70 arrows.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody can do it.
Right.
You got to get a bow that'll go low enough and work
Right.
your way up.
Yeah.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know my wife shot bears when she was, still hunting with you a lot. She shot her first bear
Yep.
that was bigger than my first 6 bears, and she shot it with a 46, 47 pound, little Mission pink compound. that, obviously I felt like I was more of a man than she was shooting a bigger bow. And then she went out and shot some ancient 20-year-old black bear or something like that. And now it's hanging up as a rug in our spare bedroom. And
Well, the pink makes it more deadly.
I'm sure it does. But yeah, I still to this day, every time I take somebody in there to show them some gear or something like that, I have to tell them that nice big fancy bear rug is my wife's, because none of my bears are rugged.
I don't have a bear rug.
You don't?
I do not.
I feel a lot better now.
I worked as a taxidermist for a year and a half.
Yeah.
I have made, I don't even know how many bear rugs. I have one shoulder mount.
Yeah.
He made one for me.
I just haven't even got around to it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, their first animal is a bear with a bow.
Yeah.
Perfect animal.
Yes.
Mm.
The shoulder blade gets in the way, but you can get a close shot.
Yeah.
You can get over your nerves,
Mm-hmm.
breathe, watch the bear. Don't even shoot it the first night,
Yeah.
because he's coming back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you got time.
Yeah.
You can watch him. You can calm down. I never get the shakes, nothing. I stalk grizzly bears, brown bears, no problem. But I sit on a bear bait, even if I'm not shooting, bear walks in and my heart starts pounding. I think it's because you're sitting there doing absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
bored out of your mind. I despise sitting in a tree stand, but I do it because it's productive.
Right.
And then boom, here's a bear.
Yeah.
And
You're real close.
Really, I'm not kidding. You got to stop. You got to slow your breathing down.
Yeah.
No, I'm laughing because the first time I saw a bear in a bait, I could have swore I was going to be knocking leaves off the tree. I was like, "There's no way this thing doesn't hear me up here, just rattling away."
Just jackhammering.
Like,
I have a little
I
different-
got a bear here.
Oh yeah.
I have a little different experience with that personally, and I think it's because I've been in the bear bait since I was 7 years old.
Mm.
Bears don't even hardly raise my heart rate. In the tree stand on the ground, like, oh, there's a bear. Yep.
Mhm.
What's he doing? Like it's just, and I think it's because I've been watching bears for hours and hours and hours.
I think for me at the bait, what it is it's you put in so much prep.
There is that element.
You put
to it,
in the
for sure.
scout, you put in the not only e-scouting but in-person scouting. You set everything up, you get everything going, and especially at a new site, that's when I get really like that buck fever or boar fever, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Is that first bear that comes into a new site? It's just it all comes together, and you're like, yes,
Yeah.
like
I'm not as dumb as I thought I
I
was.
know, right?
Oh yeah.
I told you I'd become something. No, it's awesome when it all works out.
I think we skipped over you, Randy, talking about a couple other things with your kit. So you mentioned what draw weight you're shooting these days. What's your broadhead of choice been over the years?
For the last, I don't even know how many years I've been shooting shuttle tees.
Shuttle tees. Is
Shuttle
that the old
tees.
shuttle tee lock?
Yes.
I saw those in a magazine when I was a kid.
Indestructible.
Really?
My boy put one in
Yeah.
a spine of a caribou, and it didn't even break a blade.
I'm going to look up a picture of it because I haven't heard the name shuttle tee since I was
I bought
probably
a whole
10 years
pile of
old.
them
Oh, they're awesome.
before I went to Africa.
Looks like a little
And-
space shuttle.
Yeah.
They fly like darts. No, there's some issues with.
Yeah.
I just happen to have a pile of them. I think I'm gonna try expandables again. I did when they first come out like 100 years ago,
Okay.
and I had a couple bad experiences, like 74 pounds, 12 yards, and it didn't go all the way through.
Mm.
A 5'3" black bear.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
they're a lot better now.
Yeah.
But bears, particularly big bears, don't bleed.
Right.
They got fat on them even in the spring.
Right.
Fat plugs the holes,
Yep.
and they're just hard to find,
Mm-hmm.
particularly if they're wound up and and they move out of there really fast.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So those expandables got so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I may try those again.
And those shuttle tees are all 3 blades, right?
They're 3 blades.
Yeah.
I don't even know how much stuff I've shot with those things. And sometimes you hit a leg bone. I shot a pig at 25 yards, quartering away. I hit the offside leg bone and broke it into like 7 pieces,
Oh, wow.
and it didn't even bend.
Wow.
Spin that baby, new blades, she's good to go.
Wow.
I wish they were a little sharper, but
I was going to ask you about that curved edge on that leading edge of the blade there. How easy is that to sharpen?
I don't sharpen them. I just buy new ones.
Okay.
But I don't let my wife shoot them.
Okay.
She doesn't shoot enough weight.
Right.
They look to me, no engineer. They just look like they take a little more energy to go through.
Yeah.
Because you're more chopping than you are slicing. You
Right.
know, as a nice smooth paperback.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
you ever shoot any of those the G5 Montec 3 blades? It's just a traditional pyramid 3 blade.
I know somebody that did, and he was having a couple issues with them.
Really?
But I've just shot so much stuff with these. I mean, I shot that big grizzly bear.
Mm-hmm.
I've shot that. Well, even my biggest black bear.
Mm-hmm.
I shot it. It went 6'11", 19 7/8 or something head.
Wow.
Went through the bear, buried so far in the log behind it, it's still there. I couldn't even get it out. I just unscrewed my arrow.
Wow.
Wow.
I shot a grizzly bear with it, and that one broke, but it broke on a rock after it went through the bear.
Mm-hmm. You don't happen to recall what the issue with that G5 3 blade was, do you?
I want to say it wasn't a killing issue at all.
Yeah.
I think it was a practice issue. I think he was tweaking a lot of shafts.
Oh, really?
But this is a long time ago. So
Yeah.
Um,
That's what I've shot a couple of bears with my compound anyway, and they fly good for me. But I just switched from the old vented ones.
mhm.
They came out with a solid machined out of one piece of steel 3 blade. It's the same
nice.
cut. It's the same dimensions. I think it's like 1.25 inches or so cutting diameter, and it makes them bleed. The only bears I ever had bleed well were the bears that I shot with those 3 blade broadheads. And they fly good. They've got a little more noise than a 2 blade will, or any of those smaller, more compact ones will, but they cut a nasty hole. They seem to hold up well, but I don't know. We'll see how they do again this year.
It wasn't a flying issue, or I think it was a practice issue.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you got to practice with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know the cutting width that's probably been one of my biggest research things getting into this world.
Yeah.
Because do you go with a solid broadhead that's just tougher than rocks,
Right.
or an expandable like you were talking about, and we had Brad on the show and he was talking about the Schwackers.
Mhm.
This is a long time ago. I think that was like episode 20 something, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
30
quite a
something.
while back.
But and he was talking about those, and they have kind of like a combo where it's got like a cut on contact front and then the expandable wings.
Yep.
With I think a 2.5 inch cutting
Yeah,
width. So
the cutting width is just insane.
yeah, that's been a big
So-
thing I go back and forth with figuring out what my setup's going to be.
Yeah.
But
The reason he shoots those specifically is because they have little locking. What do you call those?
Little
O-rings?
set screws.
It's
Yeah,
got a
little
little
set
set
screws.
screw.
Set
Yeah.
screws.
You
Yeah,
can lock
so you
the
can
blades
practice
in.
I think those
with
are
it.
the ones my
Practice,
boys
yeah.
shooting.
I did email them. You're not supposed to do that with the cut on contact heads that I was looking at, but most of them have that chisel head on the front of them, the little carbide, and with those ones you can. But
Okay.
I did email them directly because I was curious about that. I was like, I know this is like your bread and butter is you can practice with the broadhead you're going to hunt with, but can I do that still with this one? They're like, no.
Yeah.
So killed my dreams on that.
I was looking at. I've been looking at. I don't know if I'm going to buy them because they're expensive, but those iron wheel broadheads.
Mm-hmm.
They look like the best fixed blade broadhead on the market,
Those things are
but they
dense.
want
What is it, like $100 for 3 of them?
more.
Yeah.
It's like 113 or 115.
No
yeah,
thanks.
but you're talking. You got a 2-inch cutting diameter, and
They're
they're
rock solid.
they're supposed to. Lifetime
on a-
warranty.
on a
Yeah.
fixed blade.
Mhm.
It's a 2 blade with bleeders.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're insanely wide.
Wow.
They're crazy looking.
Well, they make 2 different widths, if I'm not
They
mistaken.
make multiple. They make a
Yeah.
bunch of different stuff now. It used to be
And
just
now
a
they're
couple,
making
but-
them in double bevel and single bevel options,
Mhm.
and they're all USA made, super tough, but very.
I think like
very
lifetime
expensive.
warranty. You break it, send it in. They'll
Yeah,
send
until
new
you
one.
lose the sucker.
But still,
That's my view. Is I've broken enough
shooting the
broadheads
G5s
on
right
stuff,
now,
just
and-
hitting rocks, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Unscrewing them when they're
Yeah.
the arrow when it's stuck in a tree.
yeah, I'm
Yep.
yeah. Well, that first black bear that I shot with Jeff, I never really talked about that. I alluded to it earlier on, but that
Mhm.
night that we went in there and sat after we'd had the grizzly bears at the other bait earlier on that day, I shot that black bear with a 53-pound recurve, and
Yep.
it shot straight through that bear and stuck in the root ball, 6 inches into the ground.
Yeah.
And that was with an even bigger broadhead from a trad bow. that was
Yeah.
going half the speed of what I'm
Yeah.
shooting now.
That was those big green ones, wasn't it?
That was the old Muzzy Phantom.
Was that a Muzzy Phantom?
That
yeah.
was the old
Okay.
Fred Eichler broadhead
Yeah.
that I grew up watching him on the DVDs because he
Nice.
shot his brown bear with those broadheads. And that was, but very similar to like the old bear razor head style of design. Just a simple 2-blade with 2 little bleeders on the side. And I don't know how many hours I spent trying to sharpen those broadheads just out of being obsessed with it, because that's just what I liked. And I'd spent hours and hours sharpening it, and it blew straight through that bear. I probably could have shot it and never sharpened it, and it would have killed it just fine. But anyway,
Killed
yeah.
several bears with phantoms. Yes.
They cut
Fine
a
job.
They cut a nasty hole.
Yes, they do. Put your hand right in there.
Yeah. I was surprised. So that bear staggered, didn't even make a noise. What did he go? 10 yards?
Yeah, and stood over there and coughed and
Yeah.
wheezed and collapsed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Didn't even go out of sight. Didn't even make it into the trees. Just walked away, looked back, got tippy, and flop.
What are those ones that have like the 3 cylinders around them?
Oh, I tried those. My boy gave me some. Hey, try
Rage.
these out and see if they bleed, because I bought a tracking dog.
Yeah.
Says try these out. They're supposed to make you bleed.
Make the bear bleed, hopefully.
Right. So I took it to the bait. I think it was the last weekend, and I had this pretty nice cinnamon bear on there. He was, I don't know, 6'3" or something.
Mm-hmm.
But there was like 5 bears on the bait, and he was just chasing everything off. I mean, this bear was worked up. This goes on for like 3 hours
Mm-hmm.
because I can't get a shot at him,
Yeah.
And he finally stopped long enough that I could get a nice broadside shot to him, and I hose him, and it was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Literally, it took the top of his heart, both lungs, top of his heart. He was fired up, worked up.
Mm-hmm.
The fastest bear I've ever shot. He died, and he was off his feet in probably 3 seconds.
Oh,
Wow.
my.
It was insane.
Woo.
He made one jump, swapped ends to get back to the bait, and fell over.
Mm.
Oh,
And he
my.
coughed for 30 seconds or 40 seconds. But he was off his feet in like 3. It was insane.
Yeah. But,
Wow.
I have no idea if it ever left the blood trail or not.
well, those are the other ones I've been thinking about getting.
Which ones are those?
The Rage
they
ones,
were
aren't
called 6 or something.
Something like
Aren't
that.
they made by
yeah.
Rage though?
I don't remember.
I don't-
That was quite a while ago.
I've seen
Yeah.
those.
But they basically, so it's a broadhead that at the base of it has 3 circular cutting diameters on them. So it literally cuts
That-
3 holes.
That expands?
No,
nope.
it's
They're,
like
they're,
you
rock-
take-
they're solid.
You take 3 tubes
Yeah.
and glue them onto the center shaft
Yeah.
and sharpen the front of those tubes.
Oh,
So it's-
yes,
the idea being it takes it literally removes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been
right.
thinking about getting some of those.
I
But
forgot
they just
about
look
those.
gnarly,
I
dude.
saw those in the old North Pole shop
Hey.
years ago.
Yeah, this was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of the brand, but now I can picture exactly. It's like a corkscrew looking thing. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
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 Totally
yeah. Cuts
different than any other broadhead.
cuts a
you've ever seen.
3-leaf clover into the side of your bear. So
Yeah.
you can tell which one it is when you're looking at the hide hanging on your wall.
Which is fine if you're shooting plenty of poundage, I'm sure. That's
Well, and
probably
that's
a
why I
concern.
didn't shoot him again. It went through the bear. I mean, it blew all the way through him,
Okay.
but went like 8 inches from where I shot that big monster bear.
Mhm.
I mean, and it didn't. It went in 1/4 of an inch into the tree,
Mm.
the log that was laying
okay.
back there,
Yeah.
and broke the tip off.
Oh, no. So not tree worthy.
Bear was dead.
Yeah.
No arguing with that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did its job.
Those ones. Yes.
Yep.
Those ones.
That's what I'm thinking of right there.
Yep. What are those called? Toxic
Toxic,
broadhead.
yep.
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 You were right. Toxic broadhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
They look like something a villain in a movie would have like a toxic vial. Or
Looks like a
something
big-
that.
right.
Looks like a big apple core.
I never shot him at distance or anything. So
Yeah, I didn't figure they'd be good at distance, but I mean, 20, 15 yards at a bait. Like,
Bear bait, they might really cut a hole.
yeah. That's,
Probably whistle like a dive bomber.
how cool would that be? Until you get bears that start ducking the string.
I used to have blunts that I would put on my arrows when I was a teenager, and they whistled. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'd launch them across the field. I thought it was the coolest thing.
So real quick, talk about the practice that you guys do before season. Like you've talked about the setups you guys have, the broadheads you guys like, how archery is a perishable skill. Like, I mean, I've heard the stories of you setting up tree stands in your backyard and stuff like that. Like, kind of walk through that leading up to opening day and when you're going to be using your bow.
In my younger days, when I took it real serious,
Yep.
now I ask my wife where's my bow, but but the gentleman that introduced me to archery, he said, 3 arrows is practice, man. 3 arrows is practice. Get up in the morning, eat your breakfast before you go to school. Shoot 3 arrows.
Mm.
When you get home, before you do your shoot a few arrows. When you just so. When I serious about this, I mean, that's when I got home. I mean, I'd run in, grab my bow, go out, shoot the 5 spot, and grab those arrows, go in, dinner, whatever we got to do. And I mean, I do that in the morning, I do that evenings, and then when I got time, I go spend some time and shoot a couple dozen arrows.
Yeah.
But just keeping polished, keeping into the routine, so you're just ready. But yeah, shooting from tree stands. And remember Randy telling me, if you're going to shoot caribou, you need to be able to lay on your back, sit up and draw your bow and execute a shot. And it's going to be canted, at about 45-degree angle, so you don't smack the tundra or those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I thought, I can do that. Oh my goodness. Talk about using muscles you don't use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Drawing back and sitting up and trying to execute a shot. And he was right. That's how you can kill caribou. Now, this is up on the tundra in Alaska, where you don't have much to hide behind outside of a hole that's got water in it.
That's true.
And it's already 30 degrees as you're running around up there.
I am tundra.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am tundra.
Spongera. Yeah, it's filled full of water. So, but just putting yourself through those different things. I mean,
yeah.
Find a broadhead that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
That worked for you. If you can execute your shots on your target with it, that's what you need. And depending on it, I used to have a set of just fixed broadheads, razor trick, and those were dedicated to my practice.
Yeah.
And then when I went hunting, I screwed on the nice sharp ones.
Yeah.
And I'm good to go. And, I like those for bear hunting. I mean, I used to slick tricks with the chisel point on them, caribou, deer, that type of thing. No problem there. Not so concerned about what I'm shooting at the penetration. I know they're going to go through that smaller animal.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. A
Yeah.
lot softer.
Yeah, softer. But just be faithful in the little things,
Mhm. That's very true. What about you, Randy? You got a routine you do before your spring kicks off?
Oh, you got to get your shoulders in shape. Unless you shoot all winter. The last several winters I have not. So I got to springtime. You always got to get back in shape.
Yep.
I got to get back into the long range shooting. I got a sheep tag for this fall.
Ooh.
So, but bears typically, coming out of hibernation. So you're going to shoot quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Get a tree stand, put it in your yard before you put it in the bait. Because it's different shooting out of a tree.
Oh, I'm sure.
I never stand up. I set my tree stand up.
Yep.
I try to set it back. I try to find a group of trees so where I'm actually shooting out of, there's trees in front of me and you're shooting out of a narrow lane, just kind of get you back in a dark hole, if you will.
Mhm.
Right.
For that one bear that's all crazy spooky. And you'll get them.
Oh, yeah.
But practice wearing the clothes you're going to wear.
That's probably a big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
If you're going to have and it's going to be cold. And Jeff said, I mean, I've hunted, I know it was in the teens, especially early in the season.
Yeah.
Carhartt suit on like you'd be in the winter.
Right.
Yeah. And you may need an arm guard to get your sleeve out of the way if you got a baggy coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's important because a lot of people don't think about it when it's 60, 70 degrees during the day, even in June sometimes. But when it gets, into the nighttime, 1 a.m.,
Yep.
and you're sitting in a stand, you've been sitting in a stand for 4 hours at that point, and you're not moving, you're not building any body heat. It gets cold.
Very
It
cold.
gets very cold. So,
Mhm.
So you're going to want a big coat, usually.
yeah.
You guys like to wear wool at the bait site?
I typically don't. Most of my bears, they know you're there. they're looking at you, and they go back to eating. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Other than there's been some bears that have been crazy spooky, but I wear real quiet clothing.
Yeah. That's more what I was going for, is just for the warmth of it.
Yeah, I don't wear
Yeah.
anything that's cold, or they're not cold, but
Crinkle.
noisy.
Yeah.
Crinkle and
Yeah.
crunch. Yeah.
That's kind of a soft shell.
Fleece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fleece. No.
Yeah.
I've wore wool shirt. I've never been a huge camo guy. I am now because it's cool. And that's the honest truth. I mean, now,
Yep.
having said that, I have shot some stuff that had I not been like totally decked out in camo, I would not have gotten shot.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I've had caribou, literally cows and calves split and walk by you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's way cool.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, but most of my life I wore wool pants and a shirt, colored like the tundra in September, if you're out moose hunting. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, you don't have 2 nickels to rub together. If you had 10 cents, you bought gas and went hunting.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I will admit, on your side with the camo being cool these days, but I got to say there is something I just think is so awesome about watching like the old timers, go just kill stuff in a red flannel or something like that, or just whatever they had.
Oh,
like
yeah.
just going out there, Carhartt pants and a flannel, and it's just something about that's just so cool.
I wear a head net now, not a head net for mosquitoes, but a face mask.
Mhm.
Usually I got it pulled down, and
Yeah.
a big bear comes in,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up just because your face shines a lot.
Yep.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I've always got it on. I don't care,
Yeah.
You're right.
but for sheep or goats or whatever.
You don't use the camel face paint.
No. You laugh. I remember those days. I have put a lot of camel paint on. I have taken bows and spray painted them. I mean, $high bows, and you just, because they're all shiny,
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
I was on Santa Catalina Island,
Yeah.
and I saw this guy. I'll bet he was 3/4 of a mile away. I think, what the heck is that? And I get my binoculars, and it's his arrows.
Oh,
Flashing
really?
in the sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even those old Easton camo hunters.
Those were autumn oranges. I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw those. But
I had a limited edition Easton Legacy autumn orange set that I shot when I was a teenager, and those are my practice arrows. Because after I shot them into a target for a while, that orange finish would wear off. Of them, and it would just be bright like a pop can, and they would just reflect off of everything. And so I would try not to shoot my camo hunter shafts into my targets, because then I'd have to take a Sharpie to them and color them just to dull the shine down. Yeah.
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 I painted my bows. I painted my arrows.
Well,
Yeah. Those camo hunters, I thought I was cool when I got those arrows.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's take a break real fast.
All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to stealthyhunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA.
All right. So part of the whole bear baiting thing is you two have gotten to see a lot of bears. So talk a little bit about the behaviors you've seen at the bear baits. Each bear is an individual, so they're all going to be acting a little bit different. Like you pointed out, some are very spooky and will just go away if you whistle at them, and other ones will not so much. So talk a little bit about over the years, kind of your experience with different bear behaviors, how they've interacted with you, maybe ones that got aggressive with you, and how to handle that situation, and anything along those lines. Let me start with you, Jeff.
Well, I think we've called that bear drama. What we don't really consider is what's going on in the bear's world when we walk into this bait that we've got out there.
Yep.
And the bears are interacting with it, and the boars are still chasing sows. And our favorite scenario is to get a sow in your bait nice and early.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if you got the girl there, the boys are coming.
Yeah.
And you just let her eat and keep her happy, keep her fed.
Best thing in the world, have a sow on the bait.
Yep. That's the best bait. Just like it is for us guys.
Right. Exactly.
Pretty lady. But she's on the bait. They're coming in because they're looking for mating season. And usually you get your nice boar that you're looking for, because that's the trophy of the bear world, is a big boar.
Mm-hmm.
But their behavior, well, they can be fighting with one another. Boars can be chasing each other off. Big bear's the dominant bear, and he's king of the bait.
He knows it.
Okay, if you just got black bears, it's a whole lot easier. I don't have nearly the fear of a black bear as I do a grizzly bear.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure any of them could do a lot of damage real quick before I could say stop. But
Right. Right.
even a little 4-footer would probably kick your butt.
Oh, yeah.
But we just don't realize that. And there's times we've walked into baits, and I mean, I'm thinking specifically of 2 bears that we called Romeo and one we called Bachelor. Romeo always had a sow. These were grizzly bears. Bachelor was just always single. I don't know what was wrong with him, but never had a sow with it.
Didn't know how to talk to the ladies.
But contentious grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Now, because we started having grizzly bears show up on our bait, we had black bears for many years, and then grizzly bears started showing up. We stopped carrying small guns. We started carrying 45-70s, so we had something to stop them if we needed to, because you really felt like it was worthless holding a pistol in your hand, looking at a grizzly bear popping his teeth at 10 yards.
What do they say about filing off the front sight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, what am I? Who do I think I am? I mean,
Right.
the gun's really there for you to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I got confidence this can stop if I need to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And gives me the confidence to do that. But I just remember we'd go in and we'd start announcing our presence, because I didn't want to surprise a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
We've walked in, they're asleep on the other side of the bait pile. We got a bunch of logs, barrels there, a little spot you can't see. And all of a sudden you're 10 yards away, and he sits up, and there's this monster grizzly bear. And, you're stepping over backwards, and usually got, your backpack on and bucket in either hand of bait. And,
Your bow hanging out of one hand.
Yeah. Where's the gun? In the truck. That kind of stuff. But so we got to the place where we're going, hey, bear, announcing our presence. They didn't want to surprise them. Well, this one particular bait, because we had the noise of the creek in there, we're downright hollering, trying to make sure they know we're there.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as they knew we were there, they start smashing, crashing, carrying on. And now you're kind of thinking, okay, what is going on here? But he's just a boar with the sow, and he's mad that anybody's bothering him.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But there was just a lot of drama going on that we just don't think about. So when you're going into a bait, hopefully there's a boar coming in, and he's solo, and he may be a little spooky and circle your bait and take a long time to come in and get you all worked up, and you're having a heart attack waiting for him to give you a shot. Just taking forever for it to come together.
Yeah.
And it may take a couple days. I mean, there was bears it's taken me 3-4 nights that where he finally would come in and give me the shot I wanted. He just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
He could smell me. He knew I was there, but he liked that bait. And I knew it was just a matter of time once he got a good taste.
Yeah.
Eventually, I just hold still. He'll relax, and he'll give me a shot. And when you're bow hunting, you have to. I mean, I've got to have that side profile shot, front leg forward, and just depending on the bear, if I'm confident,
Yeah.
as Randy and I like to say, just blow them through the pump and they don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Randy?
Ooh, I like watching bears. They're fun.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite part of bear baiting.
Oh,
honestly.
that's a
But
blast.
announcing,
Yeah.
I never try to hide the fact that I'm at the bait.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm baiting, I touch stuff. The bears know you're there anyway.
Right.
They might as well get used to your smell.
Yeah.
I always holler before I go into the bait. And we start way back, 150 yards.
Yeah.
Hey bear, hey bear.
Yeah.
They're going to hear you and they're going to, and he'll just walk off and life's good.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to spooking them off and, hey, how did you get so close? And they're going to come back, but it might be a day or two.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
But I had an instance where I had my niece up here. I told her if she got her bow card, I'd take her and let her shoot a bow from California.
Yeah.
4'11", like she was 17. We stopped at one of my baits and big bear come in and she didn't want it. She wanted a cinnamon bear. Okay. So so we hunted that bait. So then we went up to where I knew I had some cinnamon bears on this other bait, and it's 2:00 in the morning. Well, let's go pull the camera and we'll check pictures and put some fresh bait out because I hadn't been there for a week.
Mm.
And we'll go sleep. We'll hunt it the next night. Well, I go in and we're walking across this open field to where we get to this bait that's down on this creek, and I see this 7-foot blonde grizzly bear sneaking off at the edge of the tree line, looking back over his shoulder at the bait. And okay, Brutus is here. I should have just turned around and went back to the truck. But we go in, get up on this little spot. We're getting into some brush that's, chest high, waist high, before it gets real thick. And I'm hollering really loud because the creek's there.
Yeah.
Immediately, the whole world went crazy. He was popping his teeth, smacking the bait barrel. I could hear him breaking branches and stuff. Great. So I pull my pistol out. And here he come. He come running out, and I'm out in the open. He come running out, probably 100 yards from me. Looked at me. I got my niece behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Spun around, went back to the bait. I thought, that's good. Threw a fit for another minute, then started sneaking off down the river. He's leaving. And then the sound changed. He's making noise the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
He's like grunting and popping his teeth, and he got way down there, and then you could hear it just change.
Mm-hmm.
And then here he comes. It's like every time he'd hit the ground. And he went back, got the sow, went downriver, circled around, and here he comes as hard as he could charge.
Really?
Just crazy fast.
Mm.
Yeah, I shot. He was maybe 40 yards away. I shot beside him.
Right.
Pistol ain't gonna do nothing too, and it was Brutus.
Yeah.
And the noise turned them. They swung by us at 20 yards and went back to the bait. Threw a fit for another minute and a half. And we're talking breaking trees, smacking the bait barrel over. It's just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then he crossed the creek and went off. They went off up the hill and left.
Mm.
He goes, was he mad? But I think
No.
I think he had just gotten a fight with that other bear.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's all worked up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got a hot sow there, and he was just mad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's. Yeah.
Last day I've ever carried a pistol on a bear bait.
Worthless.
Well, the next day I did, but as soon as I got back to town, I bought a 45-70.
Yeah. Yeah. I carry both personally.
And
yeah.
So she didn't get that when we went back to the other bait, and she got a real nice bear.
Good. Good.
Was it a
Yeah.
cinnamon?
No, the cinnamon come in, wouldn't give her a good shot.
Okay.
We went back. She shot the other bear. It was 6'2", just crazy nice hair. Had right at 18-inch head.
Wow, that's a good bear.
And it was dumb. We had to get it out of the way to get in the tree stand. It walked over out of the bait, watched us climb in the tree stand, and I had to tell her, don't shoot it till I get the camera out. And it was over in 2 minutes.
Wow.
No.
She hosed it, run up. I watched it die. 100 yards.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty calm.
Yeah.
Seems that the more worked up they are, they can.
Yeah. Yeah. The farther they're going to
But-
go.
Yeah, so it made it 150 yards, but it was right through the both lungs, and it was just a really nice shot.
Very
Perfect.
nice. Very nice.
Yeah. It's funny you guys both bring up the concept of announcing your presence when you walk in, because that is probably one of the most thrown back and forth opinions between bear baiters is, do you walk in stealthy or do you walk in loud? And it's funny because, there's opinions and seeming evidence to both sides, and it's, I've done both ways. I've hay bared my way in. I've whistled when I go in just to kind of do like a soft push. I have established, when I first started, the guy that taught me how to bear bait was a walk-in quiet guy. And so what we would do is we would establish what we called the red zone, and you can walk in basically free, however you want to through most of your walk. Then you hit this red zone where you've got just extra tape or extra some marker that lets you know, okay, you're getting close. And you drop your backpack. You drop if you're carrying in grease or dog food, you drop all of that, and then you're on the ready, and you're walking in ready to do battle. And that's from that point on, you're sneaking.
Yeah.
You're looking for the bear. I've kind of gotten away from that to lean more towards what you're talking about, announcing my presence a little bit.
That works real good when you're hunting with a gun.
Yeah.
Because if you see them on the ground with a rifle, it doesn't matter if you're 15 feet up a tree or on the ground.
Right.
When you're with a bow, you don't want them to be always on the ground when
Exactly.
you're on the ground, because
Yeah.
you don't have a great shot most of the time.
Yep.
So,
And for me, I'll also say it also depends on which bait I'm going to.
right.
Because certain ones, if they're, like you pointed out, if there's more grizzlies on it. I had one last year that I had 5 or 6 grizzlies just rotating through there the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. When I had just black bears, I always snilk it.
Yeah.
Stealthy as I could be, wasn't worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when the grizzly bears started showing up on the baits,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you find yourself 10 yards away, it just,
Yeah.
You have to treat them completely differently.
Yeah.
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 It's a totally different animal.
Well, and the thing is, you never know what you're going to get there. I mean, you can base it on data, for that season. You've been in there several times. It's only black bears historically speaking. But even if you've got all sweets, and no stinky nasty at the bait, you could still have a grizzly show up. It's like if you have all stinky nasty, you can still have all black bears show up. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason other than what's in that area. So,
I think a lot of it depends on where you're baiting.
Yes.
I like really thick, gnarly, nasty.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
bears, when they come in, they're real comfortable,
mhm.
but getting into the bait's real hairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can't see. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now if I've got a bait and I can see it 150 yards away,
Right.
that
yeah.
one I would probably sneak into.
Yep.
But everything else, I went to
Right.
the river bait one time, noon, 1 o'clock,
Mhm.
going to bait it, get to where I start hollering. I get up and they were still there, and I could see a bear there, and I'm hollering, and it finally stands up, and it's like this 6.5, 7 foot sow. I got my rifle.
Mm-hmm.
She stands up. I'm 20 yards away, real fixed. And here's another bear pops up.
Mhm.
Well, another bear popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Then another bear popped up.
Oh, boy.
It was a 6.5, 7 foot sow with 3 2-year-old cubs.
yeah.
All on the bait at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all standing on their hind legs looking at me. And
You start
I'm hollering,
playing.
telling them to get out of the way. I'm
Yeah.
not going to back up.
Yep.
Right.
And they finally, after like a minute, which is
Yeah.
forever, finally all dropped down and wolfed off over the bank and run off down into the river.
When you start playing
Mhm.
whack-a-mole with that 45-70.
I would say that's when the lever action comes real handy.
But for those reasons, it's
yeah.
any whistling works good. I've done that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless it's a hill bait, and then I'm usually just trying to suck air and breathe
Yeah.
because you pack everything on your back and it's straight up,
One-
straight up a mountain.
Going up a hill, yeah.
Yeah. There's one that I was doing last year that you were lucky to see 10 feet
Oh yeah,
up all the way through that
Those are-
stuff.
those
I
are
mean, it was
spooky.
just thick.
boy, the bears like those,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
black bears. Grizzly bears don't seem to care, but black bears really like that thick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had a bear come into the bait, little bear, smallest bear I've ever killed in my life, and I'd killed a bunch of bears. This was This was, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. And it come in, and I hadn't shot anything on that bait in a couple of years. You know, I pick and choose, look for the big bears. You know, we usually have 2 or 3 baits out. And this little dink bear comes in, and it throws a fit. It's spitting and woofing and smacking brush, and this thing ain't, I think it was 4'8". You know, it's just throwing a fit.
Yeah.
I mean, it just threw a fit, walking all around there, and it finally left. And I'm thinking, what on earth? 15 minutes later, it come back, and this time it walked across where I walked
Mm-hmm.
and walked right over to my tree, follow my tracks like a dog,
Yeah.
smacking the tree, popping its teeth. The hackles on its back are raised up. You know,
Yeah. It's 10 foot tall on its own head.
I shot
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I shot that bear. That bear didn't need to.
Yeah.
need to grow up.
That happened to Chris last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little bear throwing a
I just,
crazy attitude.
best eating bear we
Yeah.
ever ate. But
Oh, I
Yeah.
bet. Yeah.
grab it by the scruff of the neck and put it back in, you know. But that bear had a crazy attitude.
Yeah.
I don't have any doubt that a 4.5 foot black bear could take any one of us in this room, and probably any 2 of us at a time. They're all muscle, and they're a lot meaner than we
I was going to say a lot more muscle mass than a human being, that's for sure.
Yeah, the
Wow.
only bear I shot was last year. My youngest, Josiah, trying to get him a bear,
Mm-hmm.
and we had tried, and he'd seen a few bears and loved all that, but it was after midnight, 1 o'clock, and second to the last day. You know, that we're on the last day now, and he's like, "Dad, I've had enough." You know, I'm just like, "Man, it's 1 o'clock. This is the best time."
Right.
You know, it's our last day. I'll spend the night out here.
Yeah.
And anyway, I said, okay. So we got down and we're cleaning up everything.
Yeah.
You know, we walked back. This was a bait that we were wheelering to. And I drive the wheeler to the bait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The wheeler is parked in the middle of the bear bait between the stands where the barrel would be. Okay. We're right in the middle. And I'm cleaning up the barrel and filling up buckets full of dog food and getting everything out of there and getting it loaded up. And we got the stands down and getting it all broken down and everything. And I'm getting it loaded on the wheeler. And all of a sudden, woofing and popping. And I turn around, 10 yards away, there's this little black bear throwing a fit.
Yeah.
"Oh, Joe, there's your bear. There's your bear." Well, I look at him, and he looks at me with his eyes wide open, and he's looking for a place to hide. He was not, was not looking to shoot a bear. I grabbed the 30-30 and laid it across the seat, and I'm like, "Come on, shoot it. It's right there." But I mean, it's just popping its teeth and walking back and forth and shaking its head and slobbering. And I'm just like, what in the world?
Yeah.
It wandered off a little bit, and my son was a little bit beside himself at that moment.
It's late. He's tired.
And, it's like, "Come on, boy, we ain't letting it get away." So we wandered off through the woods, and I saw something dark over there, and it stood up, and I said, "Well, there's an ear, and let's see, its heart's got to be pow." You know? It fell over and gurgled and died and carried on, and but it was
Yeah.
just a little bitty bear.
Yeah.
I mean, four-wheeler wasn't scared of anything.
Wow. Yeah.
And they get like little man syndrome.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
So, Jeff, I've heard a story about you playing a little bit of cat and mouse with these bears, walking into some of the baits, some pushing you out down your own trail, and kind of, you know, interacting with you as you're trying to get in, even when you're announcing yourself. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you'll get a bear that's dominant. It's on the
Mhm.
bait, and you know, he just like, "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" All right. Now we were really remote,
Mm-hmm.
so these bears may never have seen a human or hadn't been that close to one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm walking in, and Randy's had the same thing happen, and as soon as I get close to the bait, I mean, here it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me pushing it off, this thing's just walking slowly towards me. I can see it ain't mad. Its ears ain't down, but it's just coming with, this is my bait, and what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I'm backing up, and hey, bear, hey, come on. And, I just give way to it, and it usually will stop and turn around and goes back up to the bait and disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to go back up there the first time this happened. And we did the same thing a couple times.
He just said, not today.
Yeah. Hike back down to the truck and sit there for a while and twiddle my thumbs. And,
Yeah.
Are you a bear hunter or not, man? Or, what's wrong with you? Get up there and kill that
push you
thing.
around, man.
Just have a little pep talk in the truck.
Yeah. Get my courage back up.
Drink another Red Bull and go for it again.
Right. Exactly.
But then you go back up there and it's gone.
Yeah.
Get it baited up, get in the stand, and a little while later it can show back up and get your opportunity and add another one to the collection.
Yeah.
If it's a good bear.
There you go. In you guys' experience, when you push bears off, hay bearing your way in and announcing yourself, how long does it typically take them to come back?
If it's a grizzly bear, they're usually gone for a while.
Yeah.
Or even the evening.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, black bears, sometimes they're not even out of sight.
Yeah.
They're just out there watching you.
Depends on how full they are.
That's very true.
Yeah, that
too.
too.
You know, if he's been there and he's full and you're just pushing him off, he won't come back to his next scheduled feeding, if you will.
Right. A good point.
But if he's still hungry, he likes what he's been eating.
Yeah.
But the important thing to remember is when you get them bears that push you back down the trail, and it happens, you know, don't take a bad shot trying to get him.
Right.
Because he's coming back to the bait.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a perfect shot.
Yeah.
Maybe another day.
You know, we talk a lot about patience in the game
Yeah.
of bear baiting too.
Yeah.
And that's a huge key factor. I've noticed several of the stories you guys have told have keyed in on that, is just the patience that goes into this hunting style, because they'll be back. You will get another shot, you know, and if you see this bear coming in that you want and it's not giving you a broadside shot, or it's not giving you the shot that you want, you're not in a rush. You know, I mean, I've watched bears hang out at baits for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and just sit there, and they'll lay down and just scoop food into their faces, and you know, and then they'll get up and walk around a little bit and lay down somewhere else and try to pull the barrel to them because they're too lazy to stand up. And that's like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean, you're not in a rush, you know,
And you can watch them and you can tell if you don't have a trail camera because they got 8 or something, or you just don't have one, but you can watch and tell if it's the dominant bear. If it's not, it'll be real skittish. And if they are, then there's another bear around.
Yeah.
May or may not be bigger. Usually it's bigger.
Yeah.
Because the big boss hog, he don't get skittish for nothing.
Right. He knows he's king. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering if it's a big bear, if it's a truly big bear, there will be no doubt.
Yeah.
What would you say is your trick for getting grizz? I mean, have you ever targeted grizz at a bait, or do you just kind of hope they don't show up?
It depends on if I can shoot them or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the
If
biggest factor.
if I can shoot them, I target them.
Yeah.
Lots of smell. But that particular big bear, I shot him on the last of the season that I could hunt.
Yeah.
And I waited all season. He didn't come in that year until the end of the season.
Yeah.
I had other bears there. This little blonde sow was in and out of there like every day.
Yeah.
It was just crazy, you know. And here I am the last day, and she had been in like 3 times that night, and I didn't shoot her, and she didn't come back. And I'm not going to get one at all. And then this big monster come in. But
yeah.
Smell. I mean, smell is what gets them there. Food is what keeps them there.
Right.
They really like fat, grease, high calorie foods.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think when it greens up, we had 2 baits, and I'll bet we had 15 bears easy on combined on those 2 baits.
Yep.
And we were picking and choosing, shooting the big bears, you know. And my son wanted to shoot one. So Jeff was down fishing. Come on up. We go up there, and there was no bears on the one bait, and there was one bear on the other. They just, and sometimes it happens. I think everything greens up.
Yeah.
And they just leave.
Well, and the moose start calving too, and they start chasing those at certain points of year.
It And that's another thing. If you're baiting, particularly around town, don't stop until the last day.
Yeah.
Because
right.
75% of the people are going to quit and not bait that last week. And now these bears have been
Mhm.
bait hopping all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Their menu gets cut down, way down.
Yeah. I was going to say there's, as far as grizzlies in the bait go, I mean, I know I've observed them being a bit more spooky coming in, at least in the areas I've been in. I pushed one off last spring. We walked in and I was going in sneaky, and it stood up at about, I don't even know, like 40 yards or something like that. I had a little bit of a clearing chute where I could see into the barrel, and it saw me, I saw it, and didn't have a good shot at that point, but we didn't do like a heavy push. We weren't hay bearing it up or anything, but it just kind of knew we were there. And by the time we got around this big brush to get what was hopefully a better shot at it, it was gone. And I mean, it never came back that whole night. We sat for a good long while.
Did it come back the next night?
It did come back the next night, yeah. But it was gone. When it knew we were there, it was gone. And from what I've heard, that's typical.
Grizzlies are way more spookier than black.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the sow's got a real sharp nose on them.
Mm-hmm.
Boars are coming in, they're ready to eat.
Right.
Like the dinner bell.
Yeah.
But the sow, she'll come in, and if she smells anything, she blows and she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never had the opportunity to kill a grizzly bear over a bait. I mean, I could have killed a bunch, but they just weren't legal to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It was only black bears, and we finally gave up those baits. I mean, the last year we baited up there, which was, I think it was 19. I think there was one picture of what might have been a black bear at full speed running through the bait. It was a little blurry, but I think that's a black bear running for its life.
And we're not talking small amounts of bait. We're talking 1,500 pounds,
Yeah.
through the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just wolfing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many grizzlies.
We went through 3 pallets of dog food,
Yeah.
and that's 21, I think a pallet in it, something like that, 21, 22, and we're packing all that in. Now, we use dog food because that's all we have to use up here in Alaska.
Yeah.
We don't have all the factories where you can go get, a truckload of chocolate chip cookies when they clean up the
Little Debbie's and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Hostess.
I know in the States they don't even. Why you use dog food? Well,
Oh, man,
it's
there's
what we have.
There's a place up in Upper Michigan where it's a smorgasbord, dude. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
just have those,
I've seen 'em.
those big what is it, the water
Totes.
the 550 gallon water
The water
thing
totes.
full.
Yep.
Gummy bears.
Man, what I
Yeah.
would give.
Yep.
I'm half tempted just to drive down there and throw it in the back of my truck to drive
Yeah.
back.
And they
dude.
sell it for bear bait on purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it's there for.
For like 5 cents a pound.
Yeah, it's
Ridiculous.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's one thing you guys got up on us, lower 48.
You guys got lots of good bait.
Yeah, we need to convince a hostess factory to come up here.
Yeah. I think something important to note that you guys keep talking about when it comes to being patient with bears is the time that you guys are putting in throughout a season. You're not hunting a half a dozen sits a year, right?
Ooh.
In prime baiting season, you're sitting every single night that you're available to sit, and you're sitting oftentimes, from whenever you get out there, say it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that, before happy hour starts, and you're not leaving until the wee hours of the morning. And that's the kind of time that you invest to get those kind of opportunities, because if you're only sitting for a couple hours a night, you probably shouldn't be turning away shots on bears, and you're probably not watching them as much because you have less time and you get more desperate. And so it takes a lot of time and a lot of experience to be able to know, number one, the habits of these bears and what they're going to do, and if you're going to push it off, and if he's going to come back or not, reading his body language. And then also just investing the time into it, because this is not easy. This is hours upon hours
7 to 7
of boredom.
Oh, yeah.
Mass amounts of boredom interrupted by stark moments of terror. Isn't that what you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've spent, I've sat 12, 13, 14 hours,
Mhm.
because the bear's either coming in at night or he's coming in early in the morning.
I hate it when
Yeah.
they come in the morning.
And,
Yeah, those
that's-
are the worst
That's
ones.
my least favorite thing.
I go hunt a different bait. until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We've had a couple where they wouldn't come in until 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And boom, between 5 and 5:15, you'd have 3 different bears there.
Wow.
So you go hunt a different bait,
Right.
then you go to that bait and see if there's anything there you want to shoot.
Yeah.
And I just like watching them. I mean,
Oh, it's a blast.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a blast.
You got to be on their schedule. Be up at night, sleep during the day.
without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We go set up bear camp, and you want to put it in a shady spot so you don't get cooked out of your tent.
Yeah.
If you can find one.
Absolutely.
Bring a little mobile AC unit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I saw one of those the other day online.
Yeah.
I was just like, check that out.
You might have seen the same one I saw. I was looking at it like, boy, doesn't that look nice?
Yeah.
I haven't seen these. I'm gonna have to look at those.
Oh, yeah. They've been around for a while. They're real nice.
Yeah.
High quality item.
Yep. But when you're exhausted enough, you'll sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Like I always tell my wife, I'll sleep when this is all over.
I sleep in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to this year, and that hasn't panned out so well.
Right.
I found that myself, it's already, halfway? April 17th, we're recording this.
Yeah.
Tax day was 2 days ago.
Yep.
Spring bear on the coast that I got to leave to go guide for is here in a few weeks. I'm not ready. I have an airplane ticket, and that's about it.
You're ahead of the game.
Yeah, I know. And I just got that a couple days ago.
I just went to Kodiak last month for goats, and I packed the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, I had all
Yeah.
my stuff, but I packed the night before.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
How'd you do?
We got one.
Okay. Nice.
We went to get my son's fiance a goat, and
Yeah.
Very nice.
they got busted the first time we got on them. And these goats been hunted all winter,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so they were spooky.
Mm-hmm.
And we got busted trying to get closer. And the next day we found them, put them to bed, went up the mountain again, got on them. I picked the goat I was going to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
After she shot hers, and mine just never presented a shot that I was willing to take. I could have killed it, but if it's not a perfect shot, I'm not taking it. We already
Yeah.
had one goat to deal with, and it just dumb luck, I mean, she shot the Billy, and then I picked out a big nanny that didn't have kids,
Mm-hmm.
and there was, I don't know, 13, 14 in the group, but this one just never turned. The one beside it did like 4 times.
Of course. Of course.
But I didn't know if it had kids or not. And I picked that goat, and that's the only one I was going to shoot. And it just walked over it. The next time we went up the mountain, we couldn't find him, and then we had to come home.
Mhm.
It was the first time I've hunted goats in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's fall time.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I was
Yeah.
cold in my 20 below bag.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get cold, but I thought I was going to be hot. But that first night was brutal. It had to be in single digits.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
That's chilly.
Yeah. Onyx,
It's probably just
said the weather report was 4 miles an hour gusting to 5, maybe 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add a 0 to that. Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it was probably a
It was a good
humid
trip.
cold too.
We saw deer from the beach all the way to the top of the mountain, literally on the skyline.
Yeah.
It was nuts,
Wow.
but it was a good trip.
You see
Yeah.
any open bear holes yet, or were they not quite
I
moving
did
yet?
not see any signs of bears. The pilot said he's seen a couple.
Okay.
The hotel we stayed at had a sign saying they had one in the parking lot.
Okay. Yeah.
But there was light snow all the way to the beach.
Yeah.
It was trek poles and crampons the whole time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep up with on Facebook one of the lodges down there on Kodiak that you both are. If I said the name, you guys would know it. But anyway, they've had bears moving all around the place here recently, moving down the beaches. I don't think I don't think they've had any big ones moving around yet. It's just some of the smaller ones that are poking around. But I'm sure they're all still up high for the most part, just still blown out of their den and
Oh yeah.
tinkering around. It's still pretty early, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's some good ones moving around.
Can't stay asleep forever.
Starting to
Gotta
heat
get up
up,
some.
I can't wait. I saw a couple of swans on the river here in town the other day.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, really.
I was
Yeah,
hearing.
Nice.
the old outfitter that I work for in the springtime. He
Mm.
always, anytime he sees a swan or a goose going over, especially the Canadian geese or whatever kind of geese they are. I'm not a bird guy. Whenever he sees those birds coming in, all those migratory,
Canada's
Yeah.
gooses.
those are Canada's gooses. But he always looks at whatever migratory birds are coming in and said, bears are about to start moving real heavy.
Yeah.
And that's just, from however far back he learned that from the guy that he worked for, And so whenever I see swans in the river in town, I always think, oh, the grizzly bears are starting to come out.
I've been hearing them flying over my house.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Fast approaching.
Way earlier than last year.
Oh, it's about time.
The Lord.
We're supposed to see 60 above this weekend, guys.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Hallelujah.
Didn't it hit 50 today?
Oh,
it was mid-50s
It was
today.
55.
Yeah.
And we don't have 4 foot
buddy.
of snow to hike through.
Right.
Yeah, or to melt and flood everything out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that fun.
No, it's not. I actually, so I love my wheeler, but the only thing I found that it doesn't do well in is snow. And the last 2 springs, I've tried to go in a little too early.
You ever find a wheeler that does good in snow, let me know. I'm going to buy one.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll get the Trax kit for it.
No,
Get
that
in early
doesn't.
way.
That ain't all it's cracked up to
Nope.
be.
It's really stuck.
Nope. Yeah.
Get you really
They don't
stuck.
run on top. That's the thing.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, good night. It's
Ground clearance
1,000 pounds.
and horsepower is the only thing that helps with snow on a wheeler.
Yep.
Yeah. You just got to get yourself a Kawasaki. Isn't that right, Mariah?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a pair of boots. That's all you need.
That's
exactly.
right.
Exactly.
Your Chevrolets, your Lamborghinis.
That's right.
There you go.
Oh,
Well, so before we wrap up, I figured I'd give you guys an opportunity. Any other hunting stories that you guys think are worth mentioning? Little fun tales? Anything you might want to share?
Backcountry bloopers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever forget your release going into a bear bait?
Ooh, man.
I shot a really nice bear because the guy that baited right beside me, not realizing I've been there for 15 years, tried to shoot a bear without his release, and he spooked it over. I promptly shot it. Nice bear, 6'7" cinnamon.
Perfect.
But I've lost a few releases. Closest thing I've ever killed with a bow. We were up grizzly bear hunting, springtime. Caribou laying up on this open grass hillside, out in the wide open. Well, he's safe. Off we go. Come back an hour later. It's 2:00 in the morning or something, and they're still laying up there, and we hadn't seen a bear all night. So might as well try it for him. We ain't got nothing else to do. You ain't get bored.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he went one way, and I went the other way, and I found this little, not really even a ditch, but
Yeah.
I scooted right up. He's 3/4 of the way up the mountain. Got up there and I got behind this big knob about the size of a hood of your truck. And he stood up and started feeding and walked right to me. And I'm on this little grass knob and he's on the other side. But all I could see was his horns and his head. And he'd go down, I could see nothing. And he's 5 yards. He'd lift up and he'd go down. He turned downhill and it's like crazy steep.
Yeah.
And he starts coming around that knob. And I'm at full draw, of course. And I think he was like 1.5 yards. He was so close that I saw his eyes go get real big when he realized I was standing there.
Oh my!
I see his eye go. And I just, all I can see is hair through my peep sight and all my pins. And bless his heart, he stumbled and rolled and ran all the way back down and died in the ditch on the side of the road.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
But
You just
I
fit
think
the
I
whole
shot him.
sight housing right on the vitals. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Just pick your pin.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we left him because he was in the open. There's no way to get to him, and ended up being the closest I've ever shot him.
That's
pretty fun.
incredible.
Well, you don't know unless you try.
Yeah. We've said that many times. It's the only show in town. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right.
What else we got to do?
I love that scene so much.
Yeah.
Ooh, especially stalking grizzly bears in the spring because they're moving places.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If they're feeding, you got time, but most of the time they're heading places.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got to get in front of them
Mm-hmm.
and pray you can shift left and right and have them walk close by you.
Yeah.
If they do stop to grub or something, life's great.
Yeah.
Then you can get on.
Yeah. Start
Yep.
digging up parky squirrels or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, if I might request a story, the one about your DLP situation, you want to tell that real quick before we close out?
Yeah. It was September, moose hunting, and had a great bear season. And I was out in my nice little close to the house moose spot
Mm-hmm.
when we had lots of moose around here, and went back in there just to walk the trails and look for a moose. And I was doing what you call steel hunting. I'd just take 2-3 steps, stand there for several minutes, listen, watch, and just slowly move. And usually this area you can hear moose moving back in there. And I'd done that for probably an hour. There's a place where there's a S-turn in the trail. And I'm on the middle of the S, right before it turns real sharp again. And I'm standing there for quite a while listening, and I'd heard the smallest little noise. It's fall time, the grass is tall. Yeah, a lot of leaves are falling. And I hadn't done anything. There was one place where I did we'd rake a little bit with a scapula of moose and scratch it on a tree, sound like them scraping their antlers on there.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit of that, but I hadn't done anything like that for a while. And I stood there for a while. Still quiet. I took a few steps where I could see around the corner of the trail through the willows. And when I did that, all of a sudden, all I could see was this ball of a head in the grass there. And all of a sudden, I'm like, that's a bear. That's a grizzly bear. And he's standing in that trail doing the same thing I was doing. What's coming down the trail?
Yeah.
I'd heard a little noise he'd made. He'd heard a little noise I was made. And, well, I said, that's a bear. I brought my bow up. I pulled my bow back. And that's all I had with me. I was just moose hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a sidearm or anything. And he started popping up and down on his front legs and shook his head. I'm sure he was as surprised as I was because I wasn't expecting to see something this ugly. He was looking for something to eat, and I was like, what is that? But
smells funny. I don't know.
All that happened in a few split seconds.
Right.
And I put my 40-yard pin underneath its chin because that's all I could see. And in the grass and stuff. And I let that arrow fly. No, I didn't range anything. I didn't. It was the grace of the Lord. I just didn't think how far he was. I just automatically put my 40-yard pin there, let it go. And I heard the arrow hit. The bear reacted to it, hair grimaced and spun around. And of course, it went his way and I went my way. Knees knocking, heart pounding. Now I had been chasing grizzly bears. I'd killed a grizzly bear with a bow. Killed a whole bunch of black bears at that time. Probably at that time, I don't know, 12, 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. And Rainey and I had been hunting together. But just that, and I'm all by myself.
Right.
Didn't have a cell phone. I think I had a pager, that type of thing.
Hoping the guy on the other side doesn't get ignored.
Yeah, and it's right. And I'm in there at prime time, which is right at dark.
Mm-hmm.
And we're losing our daylight, and it's getting dark. It's in the fall. Anyway, I ran out back to the path so I could make my way out. And as I do, I run into another bow hunter, which is a guy I had met before at times at archery ranges and archery shop, and used to be in North Pole. And I told him what happened. And he said, well, where was that at? And I said, okay, I'm going to stay out of that area. It's good. And I went and contacted the guy that owned the property. Mm-hmm. He gave me full permission to get in there, and also called Fish and Game because I already had tagged a bear.
Right.
And well, the trooper wanted to go out there, and he wanted me to take him to the spot. And I said, but you want to be a hero, you go do that. You know, I said, I ain't going back in there. I'll see you tomorrow morning. You know, who do you think you are? You know, what are you trying to prove?
Right.
There's no houses around for a few miles. We're off in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I don't know, maybe he,
Yeah.
what he was thinking. I'm like, what do you mean you want me to take you to the spot? We'll do that tomorrow. He didn't even show up in the morning. Morning came. I don't know. He probably had a busy night, but I called a buddy and we went back in there, and that bear hadn't traveled 50 yards.
Mm.
That arrow went right on top of the collarbone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, right underneath the shoulder.
Perfect.
Yeah. Went right through a lung into the guts or liver, guts, and then out the that was the right front corner and out the rear left quarter. And was laying there with the broadhead sticking out of the back hind quarter.
Wow.
I mean,
Man,
right through everything.
that is some good penetration there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, at that point I was like, oh, I got to turn this in and give it away.
Yeah.
No, I loaded it up and hauled it in. And of course, we took pictures with it and everything else. I
Oh, of
killed
course.
it.
Yeah. Yep. Of course.
But
Which, for anybody listening, there is no rules against taking a picture with it.
yeah. DLP, Defensive Life and Property. That's what that means.
Mhm.
And I got to surrender it to the state. And
Mm-hmm.
they take your hard work, auction it off, and take the money. So, you know,
Yeah.
thank you.
The king's bear.
Kind of like taxes.
The king's bear. That's fun.
But
That's a good T-shirt.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
We've already got one of those.
yeah, just
Yeah.
remaining calm, cool, and collective and picking a spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, pick a spot on the bear
Yeah.
and execute your shot. Yeah, just things you do in front of the target all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if anything, that's a good point on why all that practice is so good, developing the muscle memory and stuff. So when
Yeah.
you're in a high
Right.
stress
Yeah.
situation, it's
Yeah.
natural.
It was
You know.
automatic.
Yeah.
It was automatic. I mean, I'd been there with Randy. You know, when you're running stalking grizzly bears, there's many times we got close to them
Mm-hmm.
and we're waiting for them to give us a shot.
Yeah.
Well, it's only a matter of seconds before they're going to smell you or even notice you.
Mm-hmm.
And then they try to make you move or they try to get your wind,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's by running at you and stopping and blowing or, you know, get your heart going up really quick.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's pounding, shaking with your bow in your hand at full draw, and
Yeah.
just pick a spot and stay focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And realize it. I mean, he doesn't know what you are a lot of times.
Mhm.
He's
Especially-
curious.
Especially out there in the boonies.
You know,
So-
and if he wanted you, he'd have you.
Yeah.
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 But
Yep. Yeah. And that's, another thing I like to remind people of. And this is one thing that's interesting when I talk to people who don't want to bear bait or bear hunt and they don't understand, like, oh, I could never do that. And I'm like, you moose hunt? Like, yeah, I moose hunt. There's bears in the woods when you're moose hunting.
Yeah.
This isn't a video game where you load the moose map and there's no bears, I mean, that they live there 24/7, 365. Like that's their home. And perfect to that example, you're just out there in a moosey area. They're hunting too.
oh
you
yeah,
know? Like, and so
There's over 100,000 black bears in this state and over 30,000 brown and grizzly bears.
yeah.
And there's approximately 175,000 moose. If you want there to be less bears, go start killing them.
Well, and if you live in
That's-
Alaska
It's pretty simple
and you
math.
spend
to me.
long enough hunting or even fishing and just being outside of the city limits,
Yeah.
in some cases inside city limits,
Yeah.
you're gonna see bears. It's a
Yeah.
reality. Like, so get used to them, learn their behaviors. Like you said, learn the animal, know where to shoot,
Right.
pick a spot. That's huge.
like Randy said, sitting there just watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've never bear baited before, there's a lot of footage on YouTube. There's a
Mhm.
ton of it. Some of Clay Newcomb's old videos from Bear Hunting Magazine when he worked back there. He went to Canada and bear baited a few times, and he was poking bears out of his ground blind with his broadhead.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
They were just swarming that bait site. But there's a ton of footage out there that you can watch these interactions and just, virtually experience it. Obviously, it's not going to be the real McCoy, but you can just set it in motion in your mind. All right, well, this is what they look like when they're upset. This is the noises they make. This is the noises they make when they're upset. And just learn to read some of that and that mannerisms and behaviors, because it's a whole different ball game than hunting ungulate species.
Well, and like you said, Jeff, I mean, the first thing you stated about it was staying calm, staying collected. Worst thing you can do in that situation is freak out.
Yeah.
Lose your mind, lose your stability.
You can do that afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There were several times we're both shaking, and I love this feeling.
How do I bottle this up and just be able to take a shot of this whenever I get tired,
Adrenaline dump.
There's probably a guy downtown that can help you with that. But
You mentioned one thing, pick a spot, as you said, and something that I don't think we've really talked about this aspect of bear baiting. Something I really like about bear baiting, when you're moose hunting, you look at a lot of times you're moose hunting and you might moose hunt for a week and you don't see a moose you can kill, but you look at a lot of moose. And what is that? I guarantee everybody does this. They're looking at moose through their scope, imagining where they would shoot, shot placement, all that, quartering away, quartering to. You do it all day long, just thinking about, man, it'd be great if I could shoot that. I'd have meat, right? But with a bear, I think it's even more important. Shot placement is a lot more important. We talk about it so much for a reason.
Yeah.
And when you're sitting in a bear bait stand and you can just sit watching bears for hours, thinking about what shot could I take now? What shot could I take then? And it's just something that you do because it's all you have to do when you're watching the bears.
Yeah.
Or if you have a lot of bears and you just keep on reading your book because it's not one you want to shoot, right? But you keep looking at the bear and thinking about where. Okay, well, I don't want to shoot this bear, but I might, if I was going to shoot, I'd shoot that angle. I'd shoot that angle.
Yeah.
And
could have right then.
Right. This spot, I don't think of a bear, and I don't think of the side of an animal when I'm shooting it or when I'm thinking about it. I think of a point in the center of the animal that I want to pass through. Right.
Yep.
And that's what I'm wanting to. I'm aiming for that point in the center of the animal, not the line behind the leg. Right. Say on a deer, I'm thinking about the point in the center of that deer between that. So if it's quartering away, I'm still trying to aim for that point, right?
Right.
Anyhow.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's huge.
Yeah.
Even with a gun, you want to take that, take
Yes.
a leg bone out, and then they're not going to run as far.
Yeah.
But with a bow, if he's slightly quartering away to pretty steep, if you aim for the front leg, assuming the front leg is straight down.
Yeah.
I always, and so does Jeff, the leg closest to you, the front leg, you want to wait till he stretches it out.
Yeah.
That just opens up that whole kill zone there.
Yeah.
But aim for that front leg bone, and that'll put you right through the center of the vitals every time. If he's really, really, really steep, you try not to take those shots, but then I would go like just inside the front leg.
Yeah.
But pick a spot. You're not shooting at the bear. You're not shooting at the vital area. You're shooting at a leaf or a little pine cone leaf that's stuck there, or a matted piece of grease, or you're shooting at some little thing.
Yeah.
Don't you just hate it when they come in and lay down on the grease and then you shoot them? That is the
None
nastiest
of that stuff
thing.
bothers me. I was with my buddy, and we got on a grizzly bear. He was a recurve shooter.
Okay.
We got on a grizzly bear that had been laying on a dead moose for like 3 days.
Oh boy.
And we knew where this moose was. And I no cell phones back in them days. I grabbed my Canon, and it tinked on my belt buckle. That ain't gonna work, so I put it back in the truck.
Yeah.
We shimmy over there. We get up, get set up at like 25 yards, something. We're like 15 minutes, and this bear walks in. Blonde, toe-colored grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Literally climbs up on this moose and just lays there. And he's eating, and he reaches up, and literally you can hear the hide ripping.
Yeah.
You can hear the bones breaking off and crunch, crunch, crunch. He looks up, he's got blood all over his face. It would have made an awesome picture. I got my camera.
Yeah.
And I got the gun, because back then it was only one every 4 years, and I'd killed one down in Kodiak. So I was up there with him. But he finally finally, like after 5 minutes, we're listening to him rip flesh and chew bones. And I mean, your skin would just goosebumps, you know,
Right.
it's just weird,
Yeah.
you know. And he stood up and finally turned, and I saw the front leg go forward. I'm looking over the sights, you know, and oh, yeah, that's it. And I heard him shoot. This big crack, and he's got 6 foot of arrow sticking outside the bear. You know, only went in. It looked like it only went in a few inches. And he hit it in the leg, and the bear didn't do nothing. It was the weird. I mean, we're talking, you know, late at night, no noise, dead calm, and bear didn't make nothing, not a peep. It looked at that arrow.
That almost makes you more nervous.
Right.
He looked at the arrow, and he looked up and looked around, and he looked at the arrow for like 25, 30 seconds. I don't know. And I look at him, I say, shoot him again.
Yeah.
And he'd get an arrow out, and probably another 15, it turned broadside and started to walk away. And he shot again, and that was right through the lungs. And it stopped. Bear still hasn't made a noise, not a sound. It's just weird.
Huh.
And it butt sagged down. Then he fell down and he coughed. I mean, this whole thing takes a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. A long time.
Yeah.
And we go up there, and this was the foulest, ranking, stinkingest bear I have. Literally 3 days later, my hand still stunk.
Oh, yuck.
But that first arrow had hit the leg bone, slid around it, and went right through the center of his heart.
Oh.
He recurve shooter. Back in them days, I was shooting, 27-inch overdraw,
Yeah.
27-inch arrow.
Yeah.
But the first arrow went right through his heart, and that bear was on his feet for over a minute with the arrow literally through his heart.
Ooh,
Now it was still in him, so it was plugging the hole.
Right.
But
Wow.
yeah, that was so foul. I mean, I got a pretty strong stomach. It was bad.
Wow.
Yeah,
It was bad.
that's crazy.
I think the worst bears I ever smelled was brown bears that are rolling around in herring spawn. That is atrocious.
Oh yeah, I've
Nasty.
only hunted fish bears a couple times.
Nasty.
I'll bet.
The herring spawn, you can smell it pulling into the bay that it washed into. And then you just look down the beach and there's just bears. It's a buffet. It's literally knee deep in some spots. The tide will just wash it in, and it's just knee deep, just salmon, or not salmon, but herring spawn all the way down the beach coastline. And the bears are just going through it. The cubs are out there rolling around, and the boars come out and chase the sows out, and they get down and they're rolling it, and everybody wants some of the fun. It's like Chuck E. Cheese for brown bears.
Oh,
Easy
man.
food.
And then you kill one, and then you got to straddle that stupid thing and put it in your pack.
Oh yeah,
Yuck.
those big bears. There's no delicate nothing.
No. And you're hugging the thing just to get it fed into the top of your Barney's pack. And
Oh,
of course, the
it ain't
client
gonna fit.
doesn't want to touch it, So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
You laugh, but those big bears. I was by myself.
Oh, yeah.
You were down fishing when I shot that big grizzly bear, and I don't know what it weighed. It was 7'11".
That's a big
20
interior bear.
Like
Good
20,
bear.
26-inch head or something.
That's a big bear.
But I messed around for 15 minutes and I couldn't really move.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to drive all the way home, and we're talking hours,
Yeah.
and get help. No, I ain't doing that. I'll bet it took me 20 minutes before I finally got it to where I could get it rolled over on his back.
Yeah.
Just heavy.
I had to use
heavy.
some cordage one time and wrap some cordage around a front leg and then pulley it around a tree and then tie cordage around the other back leg on the same side and pulley it at the same time and keep tension with my left hand, push the leg up, pull that tension out, don't let it slip, push the front leg, same thing, just to get him over onto his back. Ridiculous. And it's deceptive because you don't realize how dense they are,
They're
because
solid.
they don't look heavy, they look hairy, they look light, they look fluffy. And then you kill one and you try to roll the sucker over and then you realize it's very dense.
I've had to cut 2 trees down
Yeah.
to get 2 big grizzly bears, brown bears on Kodiak.
Yeah.
Mine wedged underneath one of them alders.
Oh, man.
And my son's, he was in a creek bottom. We couldn't get it out. I mean, we had to cut it up right there. And we had to cut probably like a 6-inch tree that was going over there. That's the only way you could even get in there and work.
Yeah. Anymore, I carry a Wyoming saw or something like that with a nice wood blade and a pair of pruning shears, the big loppers. Because that little stick willows that's just like grass that's 12 feet tall, that's real handy to just lop the whole kill area down so you can have a place to skin them and roll them over. And I carry those every day when I'm bear guiding on the coast because it's just brush central.
Lifesavers.
Yeah.
It's nice to have room to work.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Especially when it's getting dark.
And little tip, that's a good thing for moose hunting too.
Yeah.
Because they like dying in thick stuff too.
Yeah.
So
when I'm moose hunting, just bring a chainsaw.
Yeah, right.
You're probably a lot more likely to have a 4-wheeler closer to you in moose season.
Yeah, those power tool,
man.
Let me introduce you to the moose hole.
Yeah,
those cordless chainsaws, right? Whatever power tool brand you run, like I got DeWalt, I've got 12-inch DeWalt cordless chainsaw. Man,
cordless chainsaw?
Yeah,
you got battery
powered. Too. Battery powered. You know what I mean?
They got corded electric ones.
I'm just giving them a hard time.
Cordless reciprocating saws with meat blades are awesome.
Well,
but when you're cutting up the animal, but when you're cutting like just when you might need to cut a log out of the way or whatever, like moose hunting or
just carry multiple blades.
That chainsaw is great.
Gas powered's good too.
Yeah.
I don't hunt off.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry.
Yeah,
with the I like the battery powered one because they're quiet. If you're running into the bait or something and you're on a wheeler.
Right now, Home Depot has the little pruning chainsaw. It's like a little 12-inch bar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it's just a little, it's got a little angled.
Oh, that the Milwaukee one?
No, it's DeWalt.
Oh, that's
Is
a
it
new one then.
And it's on sale for like $130, man.
Oof.
Yeah.
I better go get one before this episode comes out.
That'd be the perfect. Well, you've got like 2 weeks,
Right, true.
Well,
this is Mondays.
This one comes out next week.
They make one on a big pole for getting all your shit.
They have one of those too. Yeah,
cordless. Nice
to prelim your stand tree.
Got to get you.
Yeah,
got to get your shooting lane cleared out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're trying to shoot around that one.
Yeah, there's always the one spruce bough 10 feet off the ground, halfway between you and the bait that you can't reach from the ground.
Yeah, I bought one of those pruners on a pole and called that that's 8 foot long and hauled it into my bait one year. It was like last year actually because I had.
Well,
you only got to do it once,
right?
And the tricky thing is, for especially the new guys, when you're in there before green up, you don't realize how thick a lot of that stuff will get. So you might just have these. They're just little itty bitty twigs in front of me. Yeah, until the leaves show up, and then you can't even see your barrel anymore.
Heaven help you if you walk in the snow and you don't realize how much brush is going to pop up after that snow is gone.
Oh yeah,
that one you and I did.
Just ask me how I know.
That one you and I did.
Snow, yeah.
When I started walking in there later in the season after green up, I would literally be like, "Where is my next? Like, my trail should be here.
Yeah.
Like, where's my next piece of flagging tape?"
Yeah.
And I'd look across, and it's literally through the bush.
Yeah.
Like halfway through the bush. I'm like, well, that ain't going to work.
Yep.
Little tips and tricks to keep in mind.
But that's where they like to live. So that's where we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for spending your evening with us. You have officially made it into the 3-hour club.
Oh, my.
So congratulations.
We're just gotten started.
I know. We're going to have to have you come back on and definitely talk about some more stuff. It's amazing hearing stories and experiences and all that. So I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing with us. So that's amazing.
Thank you very much, Randy and Jeff.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And thanks for all the mentorship over the years for Mo and I and getting me started on my addiction.
Created a couple of monsters you did.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of delinquency of minors, yes. Bear bait.
Hey, there's a lot worse things to be addicted to in this world.
Right.
So
you know what? When Dalton and I were teenagers out putting baits out, and we were parking somewhere we didn't realize was on somebody's property or something like that, or in a neighborhood area where we were running wheelers in. And back on this trail we found, and somebody pulled out and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
Well, I own this property and that property. You're hunting? Good for you. It's good to see some young guys doing something with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Yeah, we were taking more time off work than we should have been and not getting enough sleep.
Oh, no.
I don't ever think back in my life and think, I wish I would have worked that one more Saturday. Not one time.
Especially for that boss, right?
Oh, come on now.
I don't mean I'm talking about my boss at the time.
Okay.
Good bear's worth all the sleep you miss.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
We can sleep when this is all over.
That's what January's for.
Yep. Precisely. Alaskans sleep in the winter.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for hanging in there with us. If you have any questions, feel free to write into to the show. If you go to thenorthernhunter.com, we have a nice contact button right up there above us, or at the top of the page, and that'll get an email directly to us. You can also write us in at our social medias. We've got a Facebook, we've got Instagram, and if you search at the Northern Hunter on either one of those, you'll find us there. If you would like to support what we're doing, go ahead and head to the partners page. You can go there, and that's all the great companies that have decided to support what we're doing. They believe in the show and what we're trying to do. And we've got discount codes with them. It's all great gear. We've got Batum 907 for this baiting season coming up. She's provided us with a discount code for you guys, TNHP, for anybody that doesn't want to go look for themselves. We've got Stealthy Hunter. We've got Yukon River Knives. We've got Hammer Bullets. A lot of great companies, a lot of spread out, gear for you to use out in the woods.
60-inch club.
60-inch club. He's got game bags. His caribou bags.
Yeah.
Caribou and deer bags. Those would be great for black bear. So grab you up some of those. And anything we have a discount code for will be listed there. Also, while you're there, if you pop over into the shop, we've got some merch. We have a new design that's dropped last week from the time of this recording. So it's our God Save the King shirt. So what is it? Based around the concept of the king salmon and how they've been dwindling in population over the last couple of years. And you can help raise some awareness for that and show your support for it and help us raise some money for fighting for better management of that resource. So definitely pop in there and grab it. It's a pretty cool design, if I do say so myself. So
It looks pretty sharp.
Thank you. All right. Well, once again, Jeff, Randy, thank you so much for spending the evening with us and sharing your knowledge. We'll have to do this again soon. So,
All right.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
all right. For all you listeners, till next week, get out there, get after it, and good luck. We'll see you later.